Good evening, Free Enterprise fans. My name is Dathus, and I am here commentating on your Monday night community race, the Untitled FF4FE Flagset. Joining me in the commentary booth is the dulcet tones of RexxRaul. Rex, how you doing this evening?
Oh, doing great. Really excited to get back in the commentary booth for Free Enterprise. And we've got some really interesting flags on this Untitled flag set, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. So we have some ones people are very familiar with. We have the random flag set, and we have classic Forge the Crystal, meaning we need to find the Legend Sword and the Adamant. However, the real spice comes in with the T Wild flag, because not only is it T Wild, which is very great, but it is sparse 30, meaning that there's only 30% of all the treasure chests open. But not only that, we have a couple of other ones, like the boss flags that be unsafe. What that means here is that we are going to see the normal safety flags that Golbez, Valvalis, and Wyvern blocking the way to the underground. Those don't exist anymore. So they can be the ones that are your hard roadblock.
It's a possibility. Of course, it's not guaranteed, but that's something that, like, if you see Valvalis guarding a potential key item, you no longer know that that's not the way underground. And so that's a really interesting thing that the runners will keep in mind if they see one of those bosses early in the flag set.
Absolutely. And another big thing is we only have S standard, so the shops are only the standard randomization, and they still sell for a quarter of their price. So with the sparse treasure chests and the lower value of the items, this is going to be a very, very interesting set amount. But that's not the only spice we actually have for us tonight. There is going to be a secret announcement happening at the very end of the stream, so you guys aren't going to want to miss that. We're not allowed to talk about it yet, but pay your attention, guys.
Yeah, you're going to want to hear about this one. I'll let you know that much. So stick around afterwards and prepare for something. But right now we've got a race to prepare for. We've got 4 featured runners today: Pixeltamer, groundflier, zilch, and CommanderLeonhart. We also have about 20 total people running, including these 4. So we've got another one of our big community races, and it's always good to see a lot of people show up for these races.
Absolutely. And speaking of races and what the runners have, they have a very medium to high tier start with Dark Knight Cecil. Now, with T Wildish, again, we do have a higher chance of maybe seeing an Excalibur or maybe seeing a Crystal Sword off the bat, but it's also the fact that you have to get him to that Paladin state, depending on who he gets and who we find early on the seed, and what is in fact blocking the way. That makes that powerhouse either very accessible or very much a headache to get through.
That's true, and also the question is, with a character like Cecil, who's got these ultimate weapons that are just far and away better than anything else, but with only this T-Sparse 30 available, how many treasure chests are you going to be committed to open to in order to find one of those great weapons? Or are you going to be satisfied with something like an Ogre Axe or an Ice Brand to get you through the majority of the seed?
Absolutely. And speaking of getting through the seed, the runners are off. We have Kane with a Bard start, and it is a Lunar Sparkle handing out a Rat Tail with a decent supply set. So probably one of the most lower tier starting damage power, but with the highest potential, because we also, for a fact, have the Spoon flag on. So we find a Spoon early on. We have probably the 2 highest DPS in the game that do not require MP.
Well, I mean, that also depends on finding a good weapon for Cecil. I mean, it's going to be something good with Cecil. How much are you going to commit?
Absolutely. And we're going to get a look at our random objective here. It is unlock the sealed cave. So we have 3 required key items, technically 4 if you require the underground access as well, but pretty easy for what it is there. All you have to do is just go unlock it. Don't even have to do sealed cave. So it's a really easy objective, and you have Kane chilling with elements in Baron Inn to start with. Great place to check, but it is very, very empty in Baron, as we can see everybody doing the opening loot, only finding a Slumber Sword so far.
Yeah, and Groundflier is the one making a little bit of a different choice here, heading over to the Watery Pass and finding a lot of empty chests.
Absolutely not. Oh, there are 2 chests that he's finding. A little bit of money and a samurai shield. Not bad, but for the tease that was the remainder of that pass, that was a rough go. That's a gamble that could have absolutely not paid off for him, but it seems to have, whereas our other runners are finally done looting Baron, and we're going to see where they head off to next.
Yeah, now we're seeing what that sparse 30 really is going to look like now that you see these places that are just usually full of treasure just giving you just a pittance.
Absolutely. And groundflier actually checking one of my favorite spots to loot, the back of the Watery Pass. Comes up with 2 free chests out of 4. That's not a bad little haul. And we're seeing some illusions in Kaipo from Pixeltamer's side. Nothing special so far. And it looks like Mist is also missing every single chest that they possibly could loot.
Finding some good stuff for Rydia. Groundflier found a tiara, and Pixeltamer sees Sylph for sale. So if we find Rydia, she's got some good stuff available for her, but we're not sure if we're even going to see her in this scene, are we?
Absolutely not. And Damsian looks like it has also been fully looted, but there's an Excalibur right there for Cecil. The second we get him transformed into a paladin, he's going to just start carrying through the early parts of the seed, no problem. So that is very nice. However, top of Hobbs, actually, I was right. We have Sid, a great character to see for its sparse, because he doesn't need a whole lot to get him going. And the Evil Wall, a fairly generous boss to be finding here with this DPS. Make very short work of it.
Right. This is a boss that can be very dangerous at certain locations. Finding it here is going to definitely be some sort of relief for these runners. Sid also, as you mentioned, going to be someone to really help the team survive to the point where they can complete Mount Ordeals and then equip Cecil with that easily found Excalibur. Finding it in Damsian Castle is going to be a boon for almost everybody. That's just very common checking for chests, and I believe with the T Wild, even with the sparse 30, it's still going to be worth it for most of the runners to check. So not surprised that we're seeing multiple runners find that Excalibur right away, and I can only imagine they're going to try to prioritize our deals as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. And speaking of priorities, Groundflier and Leonhart both have the priorities that is Troya. Paying off, though, we got a curse ring from the lore of the 3 chests at a possible 8. And a Fireclaw, again, not the worst, but if we find a edge before we find a Yang, giving him that elemental weakness could serve in certain fights. However, as an overall, not a lot of great loot so far, aside from that Excalibur and the Samurai Shield, where Zilch is now checking Antlion Cave.
Well, I think it's also important to note that that Yang does come pre-equipped with Fireclaw, so the second one doesn't really do a whole lot. And unfortunately, it doesn't even sell for a lot. We do see a diamond ring on Zilch's screen in Antlion Cave, though.
And if you actually saw just a little bit, there was a power shirt as well. So Antlion Cave actually holding some really, really nice equipment. When that Cecil changes over, he's going to, in fact, be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, Groundflier finding exits and cabins in a shop. I believe this is in Toria. Yeah, it's the Toria item shop. And when you've got the S quarter, like how much money do you want to spend on any sort of item is something you've really got to pay attention to, because you just don't have as much cash between the 30% sparse and the quarter for selling. You do not have a lot of cash to buy items, and you'd love to buy a stack of Cure 2s, you'd love to buy a stack of illusions, you'd love to buy a stack of exits, but how many are you actually going to commit to? That's going to be something that's going to be weighing on our runners' minds throughout especially the early part of the seed, when shopping is usually taking place more often.
Absolutely. Shopping percent is going to be put on hold a little bit, but as of something that's not going to be weighing on the runners' minds, we have a fairly free fight in the officer fight, the Kaipo officer fight, down in Antlion Cave. So nice and easy. I'm going to get through that, no problem. Main officer runs away. Still a key item that is going to be checked right here, which is the Magna Key. So we do have underground access. Underground is fully open to us. So not a bad find overall.
Right, and I think for any runners who decided to go to, for whatever reason, decided to go to Antlion Cave before ascending Mount Hobbs and finding Sid, they're going to be happy that it's a pretty easy fight down there. They probably will be able to successfully defeat that boss, even if they just have Cecil and Edward.
Indeed, and as we saw on Leonhart's screen, he went and checked the Kaipo bed. It is one of the twins. I believe that is a Palom. I think I saw the pigtail on the right, but Zilch is just going to cash in that Magna Key right now. Going to try and single dip for Wool. Not a bad call, but as this, check to see what other key items you can find and see what Agar's holding. But as you said, yeah, there is a very fine line of how much do you sell, how much do you keep, and how much are you prioritizing spending a lot of that money. With Star Veils for sale, definitely one to pick up because you want to have a way to stop Golbez from being that big of a pain.
And it's going to be interesting to see the routing in the underworld as well. When I think it's always interesting when runners have the choice of basically a whole lot of the game being opened up this fast, like a Magna Key, an early Magna Key like this. What you want to do underground early and what checks are you going to prioritize afterwards? I still think Mount Ordeals is going to be a priority for the runners, especially with that Excalibur access that so many of them have.
Absolutely. Having that item and just like sitting there, the longer you sit on that item, Cecil's not going to be going anywhere. But a check underground, what you can do, hit up Feymarch, go see what's at Sylph Cave, talk to Yang. If you don't find a pan at Feymarch, you at least can route multiple checks in with that check in Fabul. Groundflier actually checking the back of Hobbs, one of the only players to do so, finding a Dragoon armor back there. That is a very, very valuable pickup. And again, one of my favorite places to loot, and I'm glad somebody went and checked. We are getting a job for it to check, and it is a parking lot enforcer.
Yeah, finding that Dragoon armor is a really nice pickup. Now both Sid and Cecil, once he's transformed into a paladin, will have something available. And one of those pieces of armor can be transferred over to Kane once you complete Baron Inn. So Dragoon armor is one of the best. If it doesn't buff your strength, this is the best armor that doesn't buff your strength, I think.
Absolutely. The defense capabilities, resisting the main three elements, fire, ice, and lit, plus fairly high defenses as it is, and dragon resistance, if I remember correctly as well. It is probably one of the best defensive items, hands down, in the game. Obviously, minus the adamant armor, but that's
adamant armor
here.
Yeah.
Not going to see much of here. Demarine putting in chat, there are 7 chests guaranteed in that are going to have loot in Sylph Cave. You could go check those out, but not until you're prepared, because those 7 guaranteed chests are pretty much the biggest trap you could find right now. We have.
And how much do you want to spend on mute bells in this seed?
If it gets me a crystal sword, all of my money.
I think we're going to get the Feymarch chest check pretty quickly here.
And Feymarch chests being empty, unfortunately. The big 4 loot room, that is a Thunderclaw that Zilch picked up, though. So if we get a Yang or an Edge, they are going to have a good amount of damage for some of the bosses. And a package, so that is another character check, and a key item check at that. But I believe we, in fact, have C Relaxed on? Yeah, we have C Relaxed on, so we do have a chance of finding Fusoya and Edge anywhere, not just gated behind key items.
And we're seeing a free fight over on Commander Leonhart's screen, the King, Queen, and Eblin. I believe this is in Fabul.
Yes, he is in Fabul. He is finding them there. Not where you would love to see them, but getting freebies out any way you can. Speaking of things that aren't free, that is a Feymarch nobody wants to deal with. Unfortunately, we do have K Summon on, we don't have K Moon, so those two could be guarding something very, very spicy. One of those could have either the Darkness Crystal, or in fact have the Luca Key, but that is a rugged Feymarch.
Yeah, I can't imagine our runners are going to be keen to defeat those bosses. We might see a lot of fading Feymarch bosses on this run tonight.
Very true. It also depends a little bit. If we find an early Cane, the Leviathan spot is going to be the roughest, especially if you find actually 2 white mages. Enough blinks and enough heals, and you can just stymie any damage that Valvalis can get through. With the amount of blinks, all she does in her tornado form is blink. So you can just berserk through there and be okay. Golbez is a little bit more time consuming. His magic power there is fairly decent, so reflecting spells is not going to be the worst. It's just a fair amount of HP that you're going to have to chew through.
Yeah, the question is like that's one that you're probably going to want to have a stack of Star Veils for, and the 30,000 for the Star Veils is a lot more significant to this flag set than a lot of other ones.
Speaking of spicy items, there is some sirens for sale on Pixeltamer side in Dwarf Castle. That is interesting to see. Whereas we have a little bit more divergence. Zilch, after checking the Sylph Cave, looks like he's going to be heading back upstairs, whereas Leonhart is done with the full defense. Looks like he, in fact, got the Luca key from it, so that is required for Fabul. Anyone who fades it for too long is going to be punished a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, that's going to be unfortunate for anyone who decides to go underground and trying to do the cheeky, just one trip to Fabul throughout the seed sort of play. So that might be unfortunate for both made that call. Hopefully they'll either find the pan soon, or we'll just go through Sylph and do Sheila 1 along with Fabul defense relatively early in this run.
Speaking of things you find early, there's a Cane package. Personally, I would pick that up because that's a nice little bit of boost of damage, but Zilch says, nope, I don't want it. There is still the possibility of finding the Dark Demas behind it. I probably would have seen it through to see if Demas was there if I was going to risk that out of it, because Demas could, again, be holding the Darkness Crystal. We know, again, can't be holding Luca Key, so that's not something that's going to be important. However, the rest of the routing is going to be important. He's going to be going and checking Sheila before he goes and checks the actual full defense and finding the King Queen Evelyn. Whereas we have groundflier and Commander Leonhart retracing some steps and going at Antline Cave and getting us a first look. We have Leviathan in the waterfall, though.
And one thing that I think is worth noting in the Feymarch, there were Bacchuses for sale. So that's going to be something that this party looks like it's going to want. We've got, well, Sid, possibly an Edward with a spoon if we find a spoon, Cecil with an Excalibur. There's a Kane in the 2 places that we know we can recruit Kane. So we've got a lot of people who would like to be berserked. So remembering that those Bacchuses are for sale, I think is going to be an important thing for our runners tonight.
Absolutely. And Sheila with having a little bit of the goods, another character and 2 boss checks, another key item check, in the fact that she gives up the Baron key. So not a bad thing to be finding, whereas speaking of finding, groundflier is finding that it is just the officer fight, lets that escape, while Commander Leonhart checking out the city, seeing what the sites of the match users have. An Earth Hammer and a Lilith Rod, those are some really nice items to find, especially if we can get a Black Mage anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think the Lilith Mage is like the highest tier, but it's one that you'll take. But that Earth Hammer, I think, is really spicy. While we've got this Sid in the party, unfortunately, it might be a little bit out of the price range of our runners with, what we've been saying throughout the course of the seed as far as money goes.
Absolutely. We are seeing some Ether 2s and some Maiden Kisses in the item spot. So not a bad overall Mysidia, especially if you need to find the little bit of extra MP. If you find one of the old men and you do some grinding in the giant. But Leonhart, checking the Chocobo 4 is right outside Ordeals. He's going to be the first one to try and make himself a paladin.
Yeah, Commander Leonhart trying to go for the Rivers McCown Chocobo Forest check, and that chest was empty. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen anybody running up Mount Ordeals earlier than this. But Commander Leonhart going there wants to get his Cecil transformed as quickly as possible, and so we'll see what bosses he has to fight in order to make that a reality. Looks like Pixeltamer is going through the sequence to get that Cane at the package.
Absolutely, and we see that love is in fact more powerful than anything, and it is burning down mist. And with Kane there, a little bit ironic there. It's he in the background of Cecil and Rosa kissing, but we do have Kane Nazo over on Commander Leonhardt's side as the first boss of Ordeals.
That's kind of an unfortunate place to find Keinazo early. This is a spot that is generally a lower power boss, the Mylon 1 vanilla location. The stats aren't generally good, but the main attack that Keinazo is famous for is that wave attack. And since that does a percentage of his base HP, it doesn't really matter that the stats, the strength and agility and everything aren't that high. It's still going to do that damage based on its HP. Luckily, a character like Sid has a huge HP pool, so he's going to be able to tank it throughout this entire fight, it looks like.
Absolutely. Not a bad roll, about just shy of 200 damage on most people. So those waves are not going to be doing a whole lot of damage. Pixeltamer getting the bad news that Mist is in fact absolutely empty, while zilch, on the other hand, is taking care of Baron in, maybe going to do Baron in one fell swoop here.
Yeah, you might, if you've got the opportunity and the ability to, just making fewer airship trips is always good. It looks like we've got French Vanilla guards here as the second fight here in Baron Inn. They're going to punch pretty hard, and I don't think our runners have found any, at least I don't remember them picking up any mute bells, so their counters are going to be kind of nasty as well if they're able to hit.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen the mute bells either. Yeah, zilch resetting out of that, I agree. Groundflier actually favored a little bit of the bold. He is opening the chests in the underground. He's found 2 of them that have not the trap chest, so fairly lucky. A white robe as well. That is going to be fantastic. For Cecil when he transforms, because I believe he can still wear that. And he can put the power shirt and the Dragoon armor on Kane and Sid, respectively, to keep them relevant. Whereas we have luggage over on, Dr. Luge on Pixeltamer scene, guarding one of those canes.
One of the interesting things that we've seen so far is we're seeing a lot of really easy fights early in this. We've seen the Kaipo guards. The Baron guards are, they're admittedly kind of tough where they are, but they're an easy fight if you've got the right stuff. Dr. Luge is generally an easy fight. King Queen Eblet's already down. So that means like the later part of the seed might be dominated with more difficult bosses.
And that is sort of the message we're getting as it is from seeing Valvalis and Golbez sitting at Feymarch. Again, a main key item location. They're just sitting there like, hey, we've got stuff here. Imagine what the rest of this summon, what the Bahamut, for example, is looking at, what the Hook route is looking like, for example, and see what kind of bosses might be hiding there. And again, we do have a Lunar Sparkle in Baron. Don't know who that is. If that's Wyvern, unfortunately, it's Witchburn. I wonder if the runners will remember that. So if you see him, he's not quite a panic. But again, that pool could be anything. A Big Bang start is still a Big Bang.
Yeah, and that's going to probably wipe out anybody. That Big Bang can be scary if it's not prepared for.
Groundflier doing a very bold move. He's in fact going and challenging that Golbez, where zilch giving the short of who that the boss is, and it's Plague. So we have a fairly pair of easy bosses going on here on the left side. Right side is some of the quote harder ones, depending on where you're going. With Edward already dead though, no one's going to get eaten. Just toss up the Star Veil and let Golbez basically kill himself. All you have to do is hit him once after he's done enough damage, and that'll trigger scripts for defeat.
Yeah, zilch is having a little bit of a tough time. Hopefully the Plague will re-up the count before the countdown takes out his team. We've got the reflect on it, so Plague now has count on himself. So we're in a good shape there on zilch's screen.
Absolutely. Pretty fantastic of the reflecting on that. So he's going to get through fairly easily, just going to get enough raise. Whereas Pixeltamer is going to be picking up his Luca key very quickly. Groundflier, unfortunately, eats a reset at a Golbez.
Yeah, Commander Leonhart also had to reset a Kanazo. Once he was hiding in his shell, the team just did not have enough damage to out-damage Kanazo's remedy at that spot. So that was the equalizer and why Kanazo was able to win that fight there. It wasn't the damage that he was doing from the wave, it was the healing that he has.
Absolutely, and the defense stats go up, so it's very, very high there. And he's actually going and grabbing some vampires from Agar. It's very, very nice pickup. That should balance out that to the point where he could tear through that last phase and get through and get himself that paladin. However, Zilch finds something very nice. That is a crystal ring sitting inside Baron proper.
That's a very good piece of equipment. I also want to mention with Commander Leonhart, he had done the check on Agar. He went straight there. He knew where that vampire was. He knew that that was something that was available to him. So when he goes out, he knows what he wants to be able to defeat that. So I think that's real heads-up playing there by Commander Leonhart.
Absolutely. Remember all that perfect, great heads up, knowledge of where your items are. Grab that. Whereas we're going to see if Zilch goes and checks to see who's on the Baron's throne and what kind of monarchy or reign we have going on. Whereas groundflier, underground at the moment, going to get us another look at the job dwarf and see what's here.
It does look like Zilch has decided to not challenge the Odin spot boss. I can't really blame him because he still has Dark Knight Cecil, pretty low power party altogether. So just picks up that crystal ring, equips it, and now is going to fight the boss on the throne. And we have the Dark Elf.
Not the worst boss to find. There's a fair amount of HP he's going to have to chew through here, because this is where Kanazo, also on the bottom of the screen, is normally around here. But the magic power here is fairly low, so these spells shouldn't hurt. And it's getting the rest of the script encounter is just going to be a bit of a pain.
Another nice thing about this party composition and the Dark Elf fight is the Whisper, which is something that could be really devastating to a team with a bunch of mages, is kind of a non-factor in this fight because the piggy status is not something very scary for physical attackers.
Absolutely. It's something that you're absolutely going to enjoy seeing. And the fact that he's hitting it on Cecil, who is relegated mostly to chemist duty with this party, is probably something you're really going to enjoy seeing. We do have Leonhart and Pixeltamer both going through Cagnazos, trying to get through that, whereas Groundflier saw what we had in Dwarf Castle and is heading back overground. And Demarine pointing out, thankfully in chat, that there was in fact a Masamune in one of the big chocobo pots in Dwarf Castle. We find ourselves a ninja. That is a great pickup, or a large influx of cash with what we have here right now.
Right, and since we haven't seen an edge, and we have had the need, or at least the desire, I think our runners have had to buy a lot of things, because we've seen some really good items for sale. So that might be thinking more like, let's sell this sword, more so than let's save it. Now, saving it for an edge is something that I think in most flag sets that we've seen recently, something you'd want to do, but I think we're going to have to make a lot of sort of rethinking of what we're going to do with the treasures we find. And speaking of finding, we just found D-Mist in the Mylon Z spot, so this Mount Ordeals is getting spicier and spicier.
Absolutely. This is, in fact, something that you're going to be wanting to jump on as quickly as possible. People are coming here, getting paid off. Going to be a little bit hard to get through with the lower attack power. You see barely hitting 100 damage on every one of his characters. But with the amount of people to spread it out, going to be getting through it eventually. Zilch, however, getting very, very rough spots. Both Edward and Cecil down. Sid, the only one alive, but he's the only one left standing on the battlefield. Managed to get through Dark Elf. We're going to get a look at the character hiding in Baron. And we have an edge, so that Masamune absolutely to be valuable for him if he goes underground and finds it.
Yeah, so that does. Well, I mean, that begs the question: like, how much do you value that Masamune? I think now, if you've got edge of the party, of course you equip it. So, yeah, I mean, depending on when you find the sword and when you find the ninja, whether or not you sell them, you might end up with a lower powered ninja if you find that sword first.
But then this also opens up something very, very nice as well. We know there are sirens in the seed, 100%. However, if you want to go the economy route, you can go and steal those sirens from Babel. So there's your grind there as well. If you don't say find Atella or find Fusoya. However, Zilch also finds something very, very nice in the fact that he found that adamant. So Baron 100% required. The underground Sheila 100% required as well today.
Right. So that is going to be, because we have the forge, the crystal on today, or classic forge. Sorry, that would be the more appropriate name for this objective. Classic forge percent. We've got the adamant and the legend sword are required, and that means everybody's going to see that ninja. Everybody's going to get access to Edge in their party because they're going to be required to go through the Baron Castle route.
But the question is how soon do they see it? As we've seen Pixeltamer and Leonhart already over in the overworld, whereas Zilch, he took a huge gamble, went underground, grabbed that Baron key, and then cashed that in first before getting his Paladin. The trade-off here being you don't have as many levels on your Cecil, but you have an edge now, so it's going to help him get through these fights a little faster, whereas they're going to have an Excalibur Cecil to get them through that. But we do have even more spice. It's another 2 key items in the form of a pan. Sorry, 2 key item checks in the form of the pan on the top of Ordeals.
And this is something that, even though it's been taking Commander Leonhart a bit longer to get through these bosses, because he just doesn't have as much, whether it's the cane on Pixeltamer or now, as we're going to see, Zilch with the Edge, the fact that he hasn't gone through the underground yet means that he'll only have to do one check or one run through Sylph Cave, where other people may have to go through another one. So this could be a big thing for Commander Leonhart.
Absolutely. And also Zilch, remembering he has that Thunderclaw. When the water finally goes up right now as I speak, he's going to be doing extra damage. So he's going to be just shredding through the HP that Cagnazzo has, going from 300 damage to 900 dead right from there. That is a large damage boost that's going to have him just push right through there fully quick.
Yeah, that Thunderclaw pays off in lots of places. If you know how to use it, you can give up the attack power, because the short sword does have a lot more attack power than the Thunderclaw, but hitting the weakness is so much more important a lot of the time.
Yeah, what's about 20 attack power versus a 2 to 4 times weakness on some bosses? Super powerful. Edge with those multipliers. He's one of the best characters, which is why we normally have him gated behind key items. He was this seed as well, but you can see comes in already putting up damage, doing 8 times what some of the other characters are doing in those fights on the other screen. 4 times as much as Sid, 2 to 4 times as much as Sid. Already paying off in spades. Not as much HP, which is a lot of Sid's selling point in certain fights, but the sheer raw DPS he puts out in multiple ways. Not only just his sword damage, but he also has access to flame, which if you're doing a multi-boss fight early on, he just absolutely wrecks them with that magic damage.
That and the dart is also an ability that's very useful in certain situations as well. He's just all around very versatile. So that's just going to be a boon to the players. He's not like the most raw damage, because Cecil with his Excalibur and Crystal Sword is probably going to out damage him just on attacks. However, his versatility makes up for that, and his agility is very good too.
Absolutely. As you see on the overworld, the big thing is the faster you are, the more turns you're going to get in. And the simple fact that Edge is about 2-ish times faster than everybody else means he gets so many turns, gets right on through. And we are getting our first look at what that Demus is. That is a tower key. That means that full tower is fully accessible to every one of the runners as they go through ordeals.
That's going to be a relief. I think people don't. I think doing the keyless tower, it's like a reality in a lot of seeds, but it's something that I don't think people really like doing.
Absolutely. And with the pickup of that tower key, we have a full set of keys right on Pixeltamer's side. and he is going to be going for this Baron in. Going to be enjoying this elements fight because it's going to be nice and quick. However, will not appreciate the second fight that we know is following behind.
Yeah, I think even with the Paladin Cecil, that those Baron guards are going to be very difficult.
Absolutely. Hitting for about 400-ish a hit, unless they do way less on Paladin Cecil, it's going to be a rough fight. Pixeltamer getting the writing saying, I don't have... Yeah, even hitting Paladin Cecil for 600, you got to put him in the background. You got to sacrifice someone, probably that Edward, just to minimize the amount of damage. But that was a rough hit, even on Paladin Cecil with the opening gear he has.
Right, you're going to want to try to find something like a Mute Dagger or even like a Rune Axe for Sid to try to just get through them as quickly as possible, or just kind of just fade it and wait and see if you actually need to do it and not bother with it until then.
Absolutely. The only person who I say could probably do it now might be Zilch, in the simple fact that he has so many people. He's got a full squad. He's got the Paladin Cecil now. Throw people in the background, he could do it around there, and he might be okay. But aside from that, I foresee this being faded. Will Pixeltamer is giving us a brand new check in smacking Yang with the pan, and is going to find that we are rewarded from the Sylphs with a special item, which is a Protect Ring. So just a little bit of jewelry, but that does open up Sheila too. So that's another key item that we have right accessible to us.
Now, if it was another way that you could do the Baron in is get all of your characters into critical HP except for Cecil, and put him in the back row and use cover strategies. Because we know the first fight is elements, and if you're able to defeat it fast enough, which shouldn't be a problem with this team, you won't have to worry about anything other than physical attacks from the first form, and then all you're worried about are those physical attacks. Now, the problem comes in is if the size counter hits Cecil, then you might be in a rough shape still.
Absolutely, but that's what the Crystalline Protect Rings can kind of help you with there, make it a little bit more safe that way. But yeah, as you said, that counter, not good. However, Sheila 2 giving us a little bit of cash. We don't have Iridia. We have a Bahamut. That's money right there. Like, that's guaranteed, because where these teams are sitting right now, Iridia would be nice to find, because we have seen Asura in shops, so they could buy that, and she could be our healer if necessary. But Bahamut right now, absolutely not something anybody's going to take. They are, in fact, getting rid of it. We have a great bow purchase. That's going to be back row glitching some characters.
That's like the desperation back row glitch buy, because, as I've said many times, the Great Bow is not that great.
In fact, there has a petition going around for the Great Bow to be renamed to the So-So Bow. But yes, it is probably one of the worst bows out there. Short Bow barely beating it for that title.
Yeah, Short Bow's the worst, then Great Bow.
Absolutely. The fact that the only person the Great Bow is even good on is Rosa, just because of the low accuracy. But again, it does its job very well in giving Cecil access to that back row glitch, so he can do full damage from the back row. But the thing here is, if a Pixeltamer unfortunately didn't loot the Watery Pass, meaning he doesn't have access to that Samurai Shield, throw on all the best armor you have on Cecil, and then, like you said, cover strats, the best way to get through that.
At this point, we're only short a couple things. We found the Adamant, we found the Luca Key, we still need the Legend Sword and the Darkness Crystal at this point. So we're close to what we need, but we've still got a couple important things in order to complete this. So the question is, I think just skipping, like, we've got access to a Kain if we absolutely want it through the package, but we've got a lot of good physical characters already. I don't think our party really needs a Kain. I think discretion may be the better part of valor on this Baron in fight, and just think about everything else that you can do at this point.
Absolutely. We do have access to Dwarf Castle. This team is not great in the sense that we don't have a pure dedicated healer, aside from our tier 2s, and those stocks are fairly low unless you're dedicating some money to it. However, that does not change the fact that you can have some access. Yeah, look at that size hit on Kain. If that happens to Cecil, that is a good night Paladin. Goodnight Holy Night, as a matter of fact, whereas it's not a pretty sight.
Yeah, the as our restreamer Demarian says, the ribbon was equipped to Cecil to avoid those counters. Looks like might just be able to get through it, have enough HP, and the back row from Cecil is going to be just enough to get through. But this was a lot of work to get through this fight. For Pixeltamer's sake, we're going to hope that it's something really useful to get here. But if not, this is something that I think other runners might be wise to avoid. Ooh, but still gets that size on Cecil, so that...
apparently not holding a ribbon on his side, because against it. I swore I didn't see one, but that is in fact a rough fight. Whereas we have Commander Leonhart on his side also going through it, using those vampires he bought, and is making pretty good work of this fight himself.
Oh, we've got Cecil back up to regular size. Or, excuse me, Sid, and now Cecil. Maybe it's going to be enough. And yes, the guards go down on Pixeltamer's screen. It was touch and go with those mini characters for a while. But we've got through it, and the key item reward is the spoon.
That is 100% worth it in my eyes. Gives you access to another huge DPS in the way of Edward. So that is going to make the rest of these bosses very, very easy, in my opinion.
And the fact that it was not required means that if other people skip it, they're probably not going to be missing out on it. But at least if you do commit to it, you're going to get something that you're probably going to like.
In fact, agree. That is one of the better rewards to be getting out. Throw those canes in the front row. You've got Cecil, you've got Edward. That's all you need until you find a ninja. And then, unfortunately, I love my boy, but I'd be getting rid of one of those canes for an edge personally. But that is a great looking team heading into the underground for Pixel, or even just heading into Baron so he can grab himself that ninja.
Now, there were Cure 3s for sale. I don't remember exactly which shop, but one of the underground shops had Cure 3s. So that is one way that you can deal with healing if you've got the money to afford it.
Which we are on very, very short supply. The Bahamut Summon is a great infusion of it, but it is not the perfect amount, unfortunately.
That Bahamut Summon is going to be a big one. And this is one of those seeds where it's like, even now we are about 40 minutes in, and we see Pixeltamer still opening chests. The T Wild means that we can see basically anything in any chest, so it might be more worth it, especially because we just need to get some decent stuff to sell so that we can have better money. Or finding something really useful like a cabin in a chest is always nice too.
Absolutely. Cabins right there. That's technically a 10K purchase right there. But we do have Zilch going and doing the strategy you and I were talking about. He's got Edge. He's only just healing up Edge, thinking that he can get that ninja through there. Has that Mute Knife, is going to be doing a lot of damage to these guards, and going to be putting them down probably in one hit. 2,700 damage from that ninja. Yeah, these are not long for the world.
Yeah, since it's a racial multiplier, not an element multiplier, it's 4 times damage instead of just 2 times. The Mute Knife is a really way to get these guards down very quickly.
Absolutely. And Pixeltamer, with the team that he has now, is going to absolutely shred through, get his ninja with going through Plague very, very quickly. And Zilch himself is rewarded with the spoon. Not only is that a great item for Edward, if you eventually get rid of him, that is still the best throwing item in the game.
And if we are presented with the opportunity to pick up a Porum or a Rosa, because I think our runners would like a source of white magic, the question is going to be, now that we've got the spoon, do you give up on Edward? Is he a liability? Do you get rid of Sid because he can't do the most damage, but he's a very good anchor and chemist? Do you get rid of one of your canes? Do you get rid of Edge? I mean, I don't think you get rid of Edge or Cecil, especially if you found that Mazabune.
Absolutely. I foresee a lot of people going and dropping both the canes for A, this Edge, and B, for any healer whatsoever, because of the reasons you mentioned beforehand. You have Sid, who is your best anchor honestly by far in the fact that he can not only anchor, but if say the rest of the team goes down, you can use him to get people back up. We do see a spicy fight in Odin. That is a Rubicante there. His melee hits are going to hit pretty hard. The fire is not going to, sorry, the glare is not going to hit as hard as you might think, but he's still going to take a little bit of damage. Zilch sees that 600 and says, you know what? We'll come back here when I get a little bit more power under my belt.
Right, and even though glare might not be as powerful there as it is in other places, at these levels it's still probably going to be enough to one-shot any of the characters.
Not to mention the fact that they have no proper healer, and with items being in short supply, you don't want to have to throw things at a fight like that if you don't absolutely need to. So Zilch, instead, wisely going to Dwarf, might find himself that Masamune, probably going to, whereas Pixel is finding himself the edge, and that is actually a very stacked weapon shop. A lot of things you wish you could find, but that is a lightsaber, that was a ninja sword, that was a gun near. Oh, he does find the Masamune. That is in fact a ninja that is online. His frontline DPS is absolutely insane now.
Right, and that I think the most, if Zilch wants to keep Kane through the majority of the seed, then that Gugner might be the best pickup that he can make. If he is keen to ditch Kane for a potential, well, Fusia, Rosa, Porum, somebody like that, then something like the Ninja Sword might be something that you'd want to pick up as one of the better weapons for Edge to use in his second hand.
So speaking of weapons, actually, if you looked on Zilch's screen, he doesn't have the Excalibur. He never looted Damcian. So his Cecil is not as powerful as everyone else's. He's just rocking a Mute Knife right now, which against Mylon and Flavor of Mylon, not the greatest, but that is a lot of power that is literally just sitting somewhere waiting for him to picking up, and him being punished, honestly, for not looting Damcian.
Now that might be something where it's like, if we end up finding the hook relatively soon, and you're in Damcian anyways, he might be able to pick it up at that point.
This is true. It might be something that will save him in the long run, but in this early part, it is costing him a fair amount of damage, because a lot of Cecils that we see are popping about 600 or so, whereas this one's doing 80. That is a huge disparity in damage, and against this Mylon Z, that Holy Multiplier would do a lot of damage here. Whereas we have Pixeltamer actually being mirrored by CommanderLeonhart, and the two of them are going up the tower.
And we'll see with anybody who has Edge, if they've got that Thunderclaw, if they want to try to fight the alerts, or if they were able to purchase that Earth Hammer for Sid. Either one of those are a couple ways that are able to get the alerts, usually in one hit. And it looks like Leonhart is going for the trap chest, where Pixeltamer just seems to be zipping right up to the top.
And Leonhart actually playing with a smaller amount of party than everyone else, than most people. Groundflier having the same amount. That 1300 still not bad, just from the base hammer. A Naga, not something you want to see, but Cecil should be making short term. Leonhart also still only having a Slumber Sword on his Cecil, apparently, so not having the most damage that he could be. Very interesting by the fact that some of these players have missed a very, very pricey item out in the open.
And Pixeltamer finds Mom Bomb up at the top of the tower. A very annoying fight. This is a lot of HP, especially for this early in the game. Luckily, we've got some characters who can do a lot of damage, but it's still going to be a bit of a long fight. And we are seeing Iridia as the character. So Dathus, is this even randomized?
With the French vanilla dolls at the same time, I'm here, guys. You guys know the vanilla has to happen. I'm here 100% for it. But yeah, that is a boss that you are pretty happy to see in the Golbez spot. Golbez location has a low amount of HP as it is, but the fact that Rydia here glowing up and then running off is fairly vanilla. But that one bomb absolutely taking out the dolls very, very quick. Nice couple of levels, and we're going to get ourselves a key item real soon. Whereas Groundflier is getting through that Demonist fight, and Leonhart finding Another trap chest, but seeing stone men. Unfortunately, those are giants, and they have very, very high magic resist, so you're not going to hit vampires on them unless you have an ogre killing style weapon. As we see here, it is making very, very quick work of this team.
Yeah, this is an unfortunate situation where if you're not able to quite one-shot those alerts, they're a lot more dangerous, especially with the party setup that Leonhart has. So that's really unfortunate there. But we do see the Darkness Crystal as the reward for completing Dwarf Castle down on Zilch's screen. So that is a huge pickup there.
Speaking of fairly huge pickups, yeah, the Darkness Crystal is nice. We have a Lunar Staff also on Leonhardt's side on the bottom left in the Tower of Babel when you walk in. That is a really, really big pickup. That's either A, one of the nicer weapons you have for a white mage, if we find one, or B, that is just a great set of money that you can throw at people. Interesting to see what Zilch does here. Do we have him open chests and does he steal some sirens? Or does he just use that Thunderclaw, as you stated, and just absolutely tear through some of these things? Looks like he's not really opening a whole lot of chests. Pixeltamer, however, getting the bombs, having them explode, has enough HP left on his people, and looks like it's just Cecil that survives. Only one that's going to get all that experience, but with an Excalibur and now access to exit, that's all you need. There is a hook, though.
For any of the runners who decided for whatever reason not to loot Damsian earlier, hopefully this is going to put them to Damsian and hopefully not miss that Excalibur this time around.
Absolutely. And with another character check, again, could be a healer that we're absolutely crying for. Or, again, what Rattail could give us, that could be the Legend Sword as well. It could be technically French Vanilla at that point, the other half of the Excalibur we're looking for. But it is very nice. We're going to see Pixeltamer go out, save, and then probably hit up that tower, Luca Key on the way out, where Groundflier has himself a Paladin now.
Now, I think it's going to be interesting because if you've got that Mazabune Edge, if you've got the Excalibur Cecil, and if you've got the Spoony Edward, like, you might be just setting up for as many Zerkers as possible. And if you're not finding a healer anywhere, okay, that's fine. Might even be Quint Zerk here.
Absolutely. And a boss you don't mind seeing, or might actually mind seeing, depending on how you look at it. We have CPU sitting right behind the the cannon, so not bad. But if you had lower HP, like what we do here from Pixeltamer side, thankfully they're all above 10%, so they're not going to die here, but it is very close. They could have been knocked out.
Interesting also on Leonhardt's screen, he decided to do just the half tower, the Penguinator special, and just go up and he's going to collect the item for defeating CPU, and that is the Twin Harp.
If Twin Harp pays off for the Legend Sword, that top of tower, that hook might not be necessary depending on what is behind the rat tail, but it is absolutely a great pickup, and see where he goes here. Looks like he's heading back to Fabul, as a matter of fact. Over on Zilch's side, we see him through the Mom Bomb fight, having a little bit of trouble on his own side. Two of his big threats, or one of his big threats, Sid, down. Not a lot of damage from that explode, though. We should see very short work made by Edge with his flame.
Well, CommanderLeonhart was heading to Fabul. Looks like he had completed the second, or the Sylph Cave, so has gone and done his Sheila checks there. And we'll see if he decides to go to the music anytime soon. Pixeltamer has that option. Hopefully for our runners, hopefully for our watchers, at least one of our runners will be making that check before too long.
And looking with Pixeltamer, he is just going to grab the hook, gonna cash in that rat tail. Probably the smart thing you could do here. Though I might be more inclined to go check that character and exit right out immediately. because that means you don't have to worry about it. You can just leave your hovercraft here, but everyone has different ways they like to go. We are going to get a look at it, though, which is another Excalibur. So if Zilch gets it from here instead, doesn't loot Damsian, not quite punished, but that is also very nice to find a second copy of, because that is either A, money that you can sell, or B, one of the strongest weapons, the third strongest weapon I think that Edge can throw. So that is a great pickup.
Yeah, I think this is one that everybody's going to like. Looks like Commander Leonhart is deciding to go through the package sequence to get Kane as well.
And while he's doing that, Pixeltamer, whether required or not, being the hero of the people and going to be giving us a shot at what some music is, while Zilch is going to be doing that CPU fight real quick, and groundflier catching in his pen for Bahamut as well.
So at least this is something that is going to be really beneficial for Commander Leonhart, since it looks like the full tower is not required. As long as he doesn't go back to tower at any point, that's time that he just saved by not going up and fighting that mom bomb.
The only way he could be maybe, quote, punished, and even then this is like the lesser extent of the word, would be if he finds a pink tail behind music that he goes and checks, and doesn't get that adamant because he needs the hook, and again, it's at top of tower that he ignores. That's the, quote, worst case scenario. Aside from that, yeah, very good play by him if he gets very lucky in that sense. Great heads-up idea, be like, you know what, let's not hit top of tower, we don't need to do this. Even though he had the potential power to do it, it would have been very rough for him to go through that. But overall, very smart play.
As Pixeltamer running through Cave Magnus finds an Ice Claw and a Ribbon. The Ice Claw completes the trifectas of the Elemental Claws, so you can always hit a weakness on a boss that has a weakness now. Absolutely. And for that Rubicant that we know is down sitting in the Odin spot, that Ice Claw could pay off big time.
Absolutely. And again, the Ribbon would have been nicer to find a little bit earlier, but unfortunately doesn't help against that. But there are still some spots where we have some breath weapons or other ones that do nasty status effects that will help us through that. But I'm going to be a little bit quiet here while we have DJ Spoony B play us some rockin' tunes.
I believe this is called something like Kids Running Through the Town. Something like that.
Yeah, it's Kids Running Through the City. I'm not 100% sure myself, but we do have, instead of some kids running through, we have arms in the air like they just don't care. We have an Octomammoth here. Not a bad fight to find. Going to be walked out real quick. Groundflier being very tempted to sell that Masamune. Doesn't quite do it. I caught that on his screen. If he'd sold that, he'd be very sad in a couple of minutes. But no, Zilch finally going through, getting the hook. He grabs himself the hovercraft. Don't know if he grabbed the Excalibur on his side. I was more entranced by the music. But if he does, then that's going to be great. But if he gets the Excalibur from the hook that we're going to get here, one way or the other, he's got what? Nah, he grabbed it from the basement.
We'll call that Octomam yet another ode to FF6. That's the Ultros of Final Fantasy IV is Octomam.
Absolutely. So would that make Nantara a little bit happy to see that? I know that Pixeltamer is going to be fairly happy to see that pass, meaning that he doesn't have to go to the moon. What this does open is a little bit of spice. What you can do is use that edge, steal some sirens, go level up that way, and then absolutely bypass the moon and just head up that way.
Well, there is a chance that the moon is still required, just because Bahamut is a summon, and that could be where the Legend Sword is. That's what we're still looking for at this point.
It is very true. We could still have one boss required up there, And Lawrence, for one of the comments in chat, yes, sirens are for sale in Dwarf, but with the limited funds that we have, you might not be able to afford the amount of items necessary or sirens necessary. So this is a way to bypass the fact that you just cannot afford all of those up there. Speaking of wallet squeezing, we have some more checks here. We have ninja hats for sale and drain spears. Nothing really special. I didn't get to check to see what Zilch saw in the item shop.
He bought a couple hourglass 2s in the iron shop.
Oh, that is a fantastic shop there. Means you can even, if you go on the moon, a couple of dragons right there. You don't have weak casters, but hourglass 2s last so long, it doesn't even matter.
Oh, in Pixeltamer, and I don't know if we saw this during the early Treasure Roots in Baron, a sorcerer robe. So if we are able to find, especially like a Porum or a Rosa, we've found both a lunar staff, a white shirt, and now a sorcerer robe. We've got lots of options.
Zilch finding her at the hook route. There's our white mage, and there's someone who's going to love that lunar staff, love that white shirt. Zilch, I don't think, found the lunar staff, but I believe found the white shirt, is going to absolutely enjoy throwing that on there. Any one way or the other, going to enjoy just a healer 100%. I know this would be me saying, yes, thank you, Demi. I will take your Porum, and I'll be very happy.
And it is, in fact, Kane who is getting the boot here. I think by the discussions that we've had so far, Dathus, that's kind of what we expected. I think there's just more upside to all the other characters at this point of the seed. Especially since we haven't found something like a defense sword or a dragoon spear, like one of the top tier weapons for Kane.
Absolutely. Even though, again, I love advocating for my boy as much as possible, but even if we had a defense sword here, I would still probably get rid of Kane for the Porum for the other aforementioned reasons we had, between just the sheer amount of HP from Sid. You've got your damage in the fact of Edward, Edge, and Cecil. If you can get Edward, around the 12 to 1500 HP mark, he can survive big bangs absolutely no problem, and he'll be able to throw out the DPS. If you don't get him that high, that's where Kane pulls a little bit more ahead in value, because he can survive the big bangs at relatively the same levels as everyone else, whereas Edward will be too low level, and all that great DPS you have, I mean, you might as well just throw the spoon at that point.
And as we're seeing things on everybody's screen that we've seen in other places before, I think it's good time as any to shout out our restream crew tonight. We've got Demarin on the rescreen, and without her, there would not be a show at all. We've got Xenocat doing the tracking, making it so that everything that we miss, and it's actually quite a bit, everybody else gets to see, and so that's great. And also a reminder to everybody who's watching to stick around after the broadcast tonight, because we do have a special announcement, and you're going to want to see this.
Absolutely. And another little shout out again to Scholar Kitty for, as a lot of people are throwing out in chat, a couple of new icons that we have going in there. We have Palom and Porum, Cheer, and Bluff, to add in a little bit more color for some more emotes, as she's been graciously working on and demonstrating off.
All right, so now the big question is going to become, where is that legend sword? Now, we've had the Luca key for a long time, and nobody has dipped into that sealed cave yet. That's one possible location. We still have looming at the bottom of the Feymarch that Valvalis and that Golbez. We still have the Rubicant in the Odin spot, and we've got the moon with that Bahamut spot looming as well. So we've got a number of places that we haven't seen yet, but these are kind of the top end, the more difficult spots that are left in this seed.
Absolutely. There is a lot of scary fights out there that they can kind of handle. Now, given Zilch with that Porum, he's going to be a lot more confident in it. However, he's going to be giving us instead an encore of music. And even if there is, knowing that there is nothing here special, the fact that he is going to be getting some levels on that Porum and infusing a whole lot of experience into her, even if he just gets her up to Berserk right now, that's going to put leaps and bounds ahead of damage ahead of everything else than what she could have had right now.
Right, and getting a source of Berserk outside of Bacchus's might be really important. The more boss checks that you end up having to do, because those Bacchus's are very expensive, and you don't want to have to walk down to the Fame Arch multiple times to restock on them either.
Absolutely, and with the chests in here, maybe doing a little extra looting, what it looks like Zilch is doing, going to be finding that ninja shirt, probably going to be putting that on Edge, probably not. Maybe just selling it for another infusion, but it's interesting because you could sell pretty much everything you have now, and that's going to get you access to probably a few Bacchus. We never did really settle on what the plural is, but
I go with Bacchus wines.
Bacchus wines, I like it. But with the amount of things he has there, yeah, taking off that power shirt, going to be putting it on. In fact, the Edward, that's interesting. But with the stuff that he has and everything, is very possible you could still afford maybe about 10 or so. If so, fantastic. If not, still a couple right there.
Yeah, I think the ninja shirt play is one that's like, if you have somebody that you want to hand down that black belt to, then keeping it makes sense. If you don't, then selling it makes more sense.
Absolutely. We do have Pixeltamer as he's walking through the first one to go through Luca Cave. CommanderLeonhart opened it up, but on his field as he gets escorted through, Zilch is going to be playing us a little bit more of some town themes as we go through.
Now, this is another thing for Leonhart's play that could be something, since he opened it and completed that objective without going through it. If this isn't something important, this is another place where Leonhart could have been just making the heads up, like the gamble may pay off if this isn't the lead. And it's just a Leviathan summon. So Commander Leonhart hopefully will never go back there and will be able to just save the time and not have to go walk through it.
Absolutely. So that's where you get a little bit of that back and forth again. Do you keep? Oh no, you don't. When you see that old gauntlet, I was gonna say, do you keep it for the money? But the money is not worth that. If I was the only person who I think right now might have stayed in that would be again Zilch, because again, a nice thing is you have Porum. Here's some experience. Get her some levels. Infuse her up as high as possible. I would be very sorely tempted to take that gauntlet, even though it's, as long as it is. All it is money. You still need experience to fight some of these scarier bosses we're talking about. We have Avalis, we have Golbez, we have Rubicante, we have an unknown on the moon. There is some scary stuff still out there, and you're going to want your white mage to be able to carry you through it. If you don't have that lunar staff, we do have the white robe. She has a lot of heavy lifting to do in bare equipment, so you're going to have to do the best you can with just levels at that point, and you want to shove as much experience into her as you can.
Yeah, but if you've got a couple of sirens and you've got a couple hourglasses as Zilch does, you can do a couple of fights a couple of those dragon fights on the moon, and I think you're going to be fine with that. I don't think you would fight the Alt Gauntlet.
No, we'll like see. I said, there arguments could be made. I like to go devil's advocate there, but definitely as much as that. Again, groundflier, he is making these pushes through. He did get through the first alert, and that rewarded him with an hourglass too, I think. I saw an hourglass, so not a bad reward. Gets to the second fight fairly handily as well, and is rewarded with another Bahamut summon. That's more money for him. He hasn't sold the first one, though, so if he sees that Rydia, he might keep her, and finds the third alert to see what other goodies he might find. Whereas Leonhart is through the Dark Elf, and Pixeltamer is going to take on that Golbez.
One of the things about not having a white mage in the party means for this fight, you can't really prep yourself by using like Mute or Piggy or something like that on the party before going in. So Looks like I think that was was it the crystal ring? I think that protects against that hold, and whatever Edge has avoids that. So we do have one character who's free, but it's going to depend on where the Shadow Dragon targets the demolish.
The thing is he does have a ribbon, I believe he put on Cecil, so you're guaranteed to keep Cecil alive. Who knows what else happens? Maybe he targets Cecil once or twice with it. Doesn't look like it so far. Might be hitting that Edge. Absolutely rude targeting. Board face, please. That AI.
Now this fight, it might, if Pixeltamer has, if it turns out that Pixeltamer has to take a reset here, and we don't know that he will right now, but if he does, it might behoove him to put the crystal ring and the ribbon on the same character.
Oh, that is rough. So what he might actually want to do is instead put the protect ring and the ribbon on the same character, because that character, when they're down, it is going to keep them from being eaten by those spells, because we saw they are not gentle. Speaking of things that aren't going to be gentle, we see Zilch getting a berserk up on this Edge. Going to be eating a lot of fire counters, but Edge is hopefully going to get through it. With as low HPs he has, I'm going to see a reset really quick. But Pixeltamer, not to be deterred, going in for another round. Yeah, those fires hitting for 500. That team is not long for the world. Unfortunately, Edge cannot 2-hit, but gets very close with that hard smack.
Yeah, Zilch using the Ice Claw to as much advantage as possible, but still not enough to take down Rubicant. That is a difficult boss spot as well. So we're down to, like, we still haven't seen anybody touch that Valvulus yet. And this Golbez has proven to be quite difficult. We still don't know who's in the Bahamut spot, but one of these places has to be that Legend Sword at this point, or at least maybe the Earth Crystal, which leads to the Legend Sword.
Absolutely. And Zilch saying, you know what, fine, I'll play your game, goes, cracks an egg, uses a coffin on it, gets it done nice and quick. Probably would have wanted to save those for the moon, but beggars can't be choosers at this point. 68k XP from that double key items, because he's got the 10, is going to give him a lot of experience, fair amount of levels, and should hopefully have his characters survive, and he gets a lit bolt for his troubles.
Pixeltamer, unfortunately, that Golbez is just going too fast for his characters to get the protection of the Star Rails up before able to do it, and is not bothering with that now. Going to try something else at this time.
Indeed, and Leonhart actually going and checking the loot inside the Chocobo Forest, not finding anything. Unfortunately, these forests are devoid of anything besides the birds that reside in them.
Unfortunately, nothing in the Chocobut tonight.
Zilch going to at least unlock Luca Cave. Going to be very, very disappointed when he sees what the boss is there. Pixeltamer going to be going and going to make a charge at this Rubicante. I don't foresee this going very well, and it's going to be at the point where what are our runners going to be doing now? If Zilch doesn't get the... Oh, he actually... Is he making a save? Yeah, just making a save first. But I honestly foresee that if they don't want to spend the money, I still say that, especially now that we have a Porum, Cry Steel Tactics, 100% on the table right now.
I think that's definitely an option for Zilch. We'll see if any of the other runners even decide to go into Evelyn in order to find... I mean, Porum is a great character, but how many runners are going to invest the time for a character with no potential key item checks? I think they'll be rewarded. I think Porum's a great character for this seed, but my guess is we won't see all four of the runners make that check.
As of right now, I'll agree with you for one main reason. Groundflier hasn't gone to... Commander Leonhart had faded the top of tower, so he's not getting that hook. But I almost foresee Pixeltamer going and checking, depending on what he does with this lunar whale. He's going to go to the moon most likely, and I think he's actually the first one to raise the lunar whale.
Yeah,
we haven't had the moon character check yet, so we may find a Rosa, which I know a lot of people would be happy to see. But Zilch sees that Leviathan, says, "You know what? I don't care what boss is here. There's no Demus, not even worth it."
I think if the character is Rosa, Fusia, Porum, or even Tella, I think that's enough that they want any other check. Somebody who can cast Berserk is what this team wants.
And if it's a Tella, he technically gets to do double duty. One, he's your grind option, and two, he also is able to cast Berserk and actually triple duty if you wanted to really just throw him in as the anchor as well, and have Sid stay up with decent agility so he can be your chemist.
Or if you haven't ditched him yet, ditch Kane instead of ditch Sid instead of Kane. And that, of course, is dependent on if you find something decent for him to swing with. For the end of the season.
Absolutely. And Leonhart, actually, on his side, is going to give us another taste of music, while Groundflier is going to be getting the crystal from the Dwarf Castle.
Zilch buying as many Bacchuses as he could afford.
And we have a second edge in the seed. Unfortunately, not as beneficial as the first one, for the simple fact of we don't have weapons for him unless we find yet another Masamune or Mirasame. If we find one of those two weapons, this edge is very much worth it. But Pixeltamer says, you know what? That base equipment Sid, he's not doing me any favors. This is what I want. And looking at it, I kind of agree, to be honest.
Well, the other thing is, I don't know if Pixeltamer's made the check. There are ninja swords for sale in Dwarf Castle, and double ninja sword edge is a very potent attacker. But it looks like Pixeltamer is heading into the lunar subterrane at this point. I hope for his sake that he hasn't forgotten that the K-Moon is not on today.
This is true. He could also just be looking for some easier bosses to fight and get some experience. Depending on where you find them, Antlion's a really good pickup. You could find bosses that we still have in the pool, though. We do have Asuro out there in Wild. We do have Mylon and Friends. We also have we have a lot out there that can be brewed. We've seen Evil Wall. We have Wyvern that's still out there. He could in theory be the freest boss of them all and have a couple of retreat spells. But it is going to be very interesting. This is bold, and this is also very scary for Pixeltamer.
Yeah, D-Lunars are still out there. Ogopogo is still out there. So there's some scary ones that we haven't seen yet. I thought maybe that he was going to be going for some trap chests if he was looking for some loot, but it looks like it is bosses by this march down to the bottom. Hopefully, much time, or he gets the levels that he wants quickly, because we're still looking for that legend sword, and that's a hunt that he's going to have to make after doing whatever he's doing here in the lunar sub.
Absolutely. And it looks like we have Zilch doing some Berserk strats on his side. He has Edward Berserked up. He has Cecil blinked up, going to be doing cover strats. One of the better plays that you could be doing down here, and is going to get through this Val pretty easily. Getting smacked around, though, that is a lot of damage that he is taking. Probably could have put on some more armor on him, but aside from that, not the worst thing that could have happened in the world. This is a fight that he will get through. It is a war of attrition, and it's one that he's got the damage for.
Pixeltamer finds Ogopogo in the Vanilla Plague spot, now heading down to the Ogopogo spot. I just said Ogopogo.
Absolutely. That's
a
very mouthful.
Able to defeat the Valvolus fight here. So that was really being heads up with what he's got on the team and what's available in the shops. Gets an adamant armor.
So worth it. That's not a key item, but that is something I will take any day of the week, twice on Sunday, and I would throw that personally probably on that Cecil. Again, Eddie, as nice as it is for Add a Spoonward, if he's not rocking above 1200 HP, that is a liability to have that item on him.
Well, for the Zeramus fight, I would say that's true. But up until then, I think, he's putting it right on Edward. I think putting it on Edward for other bosses up until then makes perfect sense.
Agree as well. And we have Bahamut sitting at Ogopogo. He's going to have to reflect some of his own nukes. We have 2 at Edge and Cecil with those Star Veils. Quad 9 damage. We have 2 down. Edward coming back out of hiding, and they're going to probably do enough damage to get through the last bit of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough here or if they'll have to reflect another Mega Nuke. Either way, like this is the sort of boss that I think Pixeltamer was looking for, as far as like a way to get experience out of a boss. Zilch now going back into the fray with that Galdus fight that has been so difficult for our runners so far.
And speaking of, as we have Bahamut on our top left side, on the top right side, what groundflier is actually doing is he took that Rydia, he gave her Bahamut, and he also gave her Asura. So that is 100% your healer setup right there. She's not a great healer in the sense that she will 100% heal the time, but at 66% of the time is better than 0% of the time. Pixeltamer, in fact, getting through that Bahamut fight pretty easily. Artemis arrows, but the real reward there was the experience we gained along the way. And Leonhart, speaking of nice rewarding items, gets himself that spoon. So is getting through fairly nice. Again, the amount of XP that came from that spot, that infusion of levels, even on a few people, very, very worth it. Whereas we have Zilch getting a 2300 virus to Cecil's face. However, a berserked Edward might be able to pull this out, depending on how targeted.
With that adamant armor too, yeah, this is going to be making pretty short work of Call.
But the thing is if he eats, and there's the spell. Oh, he's got. He in fact has the.
Yeah, he was able to get the first Star Veil.
I didn't see that. Yeah, Golbez is. Wait, how? Why? Why was I beaten by a spoon? There's an Earth Crystal. That's another 2 characters and a key item check. So we have a lot available to us. Again, we don't need to do anything else aside from gain some levels, but that is still a possibility of a Fusoya, possibility of maybe another character that we're going to want to swap out. The fact that we know there are 2 Excaliburs, if you see a second Cecil there, you might swap out that Spoonward for 1.
And that Earth Crystal could be holding that Legend Sword.
Indeed. There is also the side bonus of having access to the Troya Treasury, but with 30%, and with the amount of chests we've seen empty, I 100% think that the Troya Treasury is going to be a bust, both treasure density and item containing wise.
So it looks like Pixeltamer is going for some of the trap chests here, as we see the 2 Warlock 2 carry fight up on his screen.
Indeed, looks like he's going through it. And speaking of going through, Zilch, not to be perturbed, he is going to go down to that Rubicon fight, and he is going to show him what for.
Yeah, and with the especially with the adamant armor, this is going to be a lot more safe than some of the other run chances were at this fight, giving the resistance to it. And if you want to be cheeky, you can also throw that curse string on to absorb them.
That is very true. It negates out the bonus stats, but I mean, you have yourself a spoon on top of your Edward. You don't need that, so you could just have him absolutely survive forever.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary, but that's just one of those things that you can do with the curse string. It's not used as often in most of our racing seeds, but it's something that to be aware of as a potential way to get through some difficult bosses in a tough.
Absolutely, and we see that adamant armor already put to good use. 1 damage done on Eddie, and we're gonna have him and Edge just absolutely smash this Rubicon down to the ground. Whereas we have Groundflier, looks like he's going through and gonna be hitting up Baron Castle.
Gets a Stardust Rod out of that. No Black Mage in Pixeltamer's party, but that could be sold for a decent amount of money if he wants it. Now making the exit out of here. We'll see where he wants to go next. Ooh, but we found the Legend Sword down on Zilch's screen. Rubicante. Was it leg? It was leg, and it was a Legend Sword.
It was the leg end. We have the Legend Sword right there, the end of our hunt, and we are going to get ourselves a forged sword that Kukul's going to keep. But it does open up that shop where, if you're ready to go for Zeromus, a great place to dump some extra cash.
Yeah, you could dump your extra cash there. You can dump it in Dwarf Castle for Sirens. You could dump it in the Feymarch for Bacchuses. I think there's lots of things that our runners are going to want to spend money on before they head over to Zeromus. And this is a really good play for Zilch. He never launched the Lunar Whale, so he's never gone through that cutscene. Saved a lot of time not doing anything on the moon, not checking that Bahamut spot. Just kept to the blue planet, and he's got everything he needs, especially since he's got that pass in hand right now.
Absolutely. He can even go, like you said, grab himself a fair amount of Sirens, do his grind, head right on up, saves himself a lot. But speaking of a lot, that is a Pain Man at Bahamut Cave. That is a lot of damage we're about to see right here. 1,200 plus across the board. Yeah, the only person taking that, Cecil and Edge. And I don't think he's going to get enough healing to be able to get this unless we have a Cure 3 and a high roll, and Cecil ends up that fight. Yeah, that is not the place you want to find Cecil, because that is, again, the highest attack power in the game, tied for the Leviathan spot. Those are worse. Pain Man, in fact, lives up to his name.
Now, it's also worth noting we do have about 20 people overall running the race tonight, and we do not have a finisher yet. Zilch is in go mode now, so there's a possibility that he'll be the one to finish first overall in the race. We'll see if he can do it. We've got a lot of good runners here tonight that aren't being restreamed.
And Zilch, yeah, absolutely looking at everything he's got, says, what don't I need? I don't need this. I don't need this. Take it. Give me some of them Sirens. Sells an Excalibur. That is a really good one, but that is 8 Sirens for him. That is more than enough. That's where his grind's coming. Whereas Pixeltamer looks like he's headed up to the Giant. What are you doing up here, my dude?
I'm not sure. Could be looking for the last arm chest. I don't know if he's got what he needs to do a Mac Giant grind.
There have not been, from what I've seen, any decent ogre killing axes, and there has not been a Zeus gauntlet. That is one thing I'm very adamant about not seeing. However, we do have some black armor, so that's a great thing to see on T Wild. That's a feels bad chest left.
There was a Earth Hammer for sale, which you can use in the Mac Giant grind. But I'm not sure. Get Coop to ask if Pixel has seen D-Mist. Everybody has seen D-Mist because D-Mist was on Mount Ordeal. But it looks like it's the last arm chest that he was looking for.
Yeah, that's a good call. Again, another really strong item. Could be looking for maybe another ninja sword for his Edge. Could be just maybe hoping for more experience. But we are getting some experience shown on both sides. Zilch gets 2,300 HP on his Sid, says, you know what, that's enough, have a dirt nap. And Leonhart popping up the couple sides that he has and is going as much as he can.
Groundflier has also found that Legend Sword. Still shy 1 adamant on Groundflier's screen. Also worth noting, Groundflier has not found the pass either.
Also, if my eyes were deceiving me, was that an adamant armor that we saw from that last arm check? That is probably the nicest thing that you could have found in a chest. 100% worth this check, even if he just resets out. That adamant armor is going to get him through a lot of fights. The Asura, on the other hand, is going to be a very big wall for him to get through.
Yeah, this is a doable fight, but I don't know if this is one where it's like you've got to balance. If you think you're going to be good enough to get through it fast in a reasonable amount of time, that's going to be the question here. It's worth a boatload of experience, though, if Pixeltamer is able to do it reasonably quick. Throwing up the Star Veil, the double Star Veil strategy, so that Ashura will be reflecting her healing magic to the party. The counter attacks are going to be plentiful, though.
The physical damage here, I think, is very medium-ish, so we're about to see how much they hit for. Yes, 700-ish per hit. Gonna suck on everybody who's not Cecil. If you can get everybody low enough to where critical cover kicks in, and he's the only one who takes the hit, it's gonna be nice. But aside from that, these hits are gonna be fast and furious, and Kane's already our first one to be taking the critical cover. And this just in, we have our first finisher, Dark Kobold, first place finisher at 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 26 seconds. GG to Dark Kobold for getting through that and getting through the seed in such a timely manner, as a matter of fact. And as I say that, we even have Zilch going in, and he's going to be hot on his heels, fighting for that second place finish, is going to be heading in. And guys, we're going to get our first look at what we're going to be fighting tonight.
Yeah, we've got to know whose butt are we going to kick.
The flag's are already out. Whose butt is it indeed? What is one of your favorite Zerama sprites to be seeing?
I saw it really early in my free enterprise career, but I really love seeing Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson's a fantastic one. I've seen him once. I'm a big fan just because of the story. I really enjoy Potatomus because the story behind it is fantastic, and it's just a potato. But Temp Jobmas, I think, is a big favorite amongst the community now. And Zilch actually doing this fight at a little scary amount of levels. That Porum only having 1600 HP and Edward with 1100. He has to nerf every single big bang, or he's going to be in a little bit of trouble with his DPS.
I think the idea is if he's got the power from his characters, the DPS is good enough. He should only see one big bang through this potentially quad Zerg fight. It's going to be either try or quad.
Absolutely. And speaking of try, that is what Zilch is going for third place, because we have Flurry 14 finishing at second place with 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 13 seconds. And what is this Z sprite? Creator Mist. It's another, because I know there's Creator Mist, but now we have another one.
Yeah, this isn't Creator from Final Fantasy Legend, that's for sure.
No, this is Scala confirming from the after years. So it's been a while since I fought this boss myself, but that is a great sprite to have in here. That nuke actually going off on the one character you really wanted to go on to. Sid eating it, that much HP. Even if he goes down to Big Bang here, not a big deal. You have your Tri-Zerkers up. And Zilch actually forgetting to take that Ice Claw off of his edge, so we have a little bit of ice damage in here. Yang is here in spirit.
Yeah, the short sword would be a little bit better, but the multipliers are what matters the most.
Absolutely. And speaking of multipliers, that damage is really, really adding up. We have a total of 8k coming from both Eddie and Cecil. Ed putting up 2K. Here is the first big bang. That is going to be a decent hit, probably about the 700-800 range. Whereas Asura is smacking around Pixeltamer's party. But again, that single damage coming from Eddie, he's going to be around long enough where he's going to have no problem.
Yeah, and now these Berserk's characters should be able to finish off Creatimus before the second Big Bang. I think Zilch is in really good position.
Yeah, with having Kane in both edges in critical HP, no problem. Even he's taking 1 damage. Gonna be a very straightforward fight. Just has to make sure he outlives the reflect, though. That could wear off and cause him a bit of a problem.
Yeah, if Pixeltamer is not able to get through it before then that could be rough.
Especially if he gets off on one of the Cure 4s, that is going to be a tough hit that he's going to take. However, we do have groundflier hitting the moon, going to be looking and finding himself an edge, whereas Leonhart is also, looks like he's grabbed one of his edges, and he's going back and he's doing the top of tower. So he's going to be getting that hook and maybe even getting that forum, but probably going to be sticking. I think he was the one who gave Rydia all of her spells.
Ooh, that's unfortunate. Did see that second Big Bang, and now but there they are. That's the flash, and Zilch is finished. In third place overall, 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 35 seconds. So big GGs to Zilch.
In fact, get your GGs out in chat for Zilch. It was really well done. Could have been very scary for him. Gets done, and as we're talking about that, sniped out just a little bit ahead of PK 4787, who finishes in 4th place with a time of 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 8 seconds. So GG's to the two of them. Great fights for them, and as we say GG's, Pixel is saying GG to Asura and getting a lot of experience put into his characters as he beats her down and gets all the experience onto his characters from that. People sitting in the 40s now in a very, very good spot.
And at this time, want to just remind everybody that you should stick around after the broadcast tonight because we do have a special announcement still forthcoming.
Exactly. The fun doesn't stop when the runners are done. The fun stops when we give you guys a little bit more information. Pixeltamer sees the second boss. I didn't quite see who it was.
It was Mylon and Friends.
Mylon and Friends, you know what? I don't care what character's back there. Mylon and Friends ain't worth the headache. Definitely agree. And in fact, we are joined by Zilch. GG Zilch on your 3rd place finish. Well done.
Thank you.
So when that second Big Bang hit, was that really nervous, or did you still feel like it was going to be all?
When I saw Cecil had over 1,000 health, I figured I'd be fine. Under 1,000 health, I probably would have been a lot more nervous.
Fair enough.
And I do have to apologize. I was debating going Quint and just zerking Porum, but I chickened out at the end.
Hey,
so you only got quad.
That might have. She was able to heal so that Cecil was able to be at that 1,000. So that might have been really good.
I mean, I would have zerked her towards the end of it after she threw that Cure 4.
Oh, okay. So you would have even been truly committing. But okay.
After the first Big Bang.
Yeah.
Heal, then zerk.
So one of the big questions I have for you, Zilch, is you didn't loot Damsian Castle. You left it till after you got the hook. How happy were you when you saw that Excalibur hiding not only in Damsian Castle, but then at the Rat Tail hook, the Rat Tail turn-in as well?
I mean, it's kind of like that uh-oh feeling where it's like, oh, everyone had this X-Gal from like the beginning of the game, so that's great. And then the double X-Gal is like, well, this should solve some of my money problems. So there was that. But yeah, I wasn't feeling great about it, or selling Bahamut only to find Rydia like very next check.
Well, then that's a question. After seeing Rydia, would you have kept her over any of your characters, and who would you have swapped out?
I would have dropped. Well, I didn't have Porum at the time I got her, so I probably still would have dropped Kane at that point. And then had her Bahamut everything to death. Yeah, Warpcaster, so I would have checked Sealed Cave a little earlier. Not that that would have mattered, because that just had more summons for Rydia.
Nicest thing in there was the lunar staff we noticed. So did you ever consider, before finding that second Excalibur, maybe, and when you got Porum, were you thinking maybe, hey, I'll go grab some sirens via steal, or what was your grind thought as you were going through near the end of the seed?
I knew sirens were for sale. I figured I didn't even think about stealing them, but I feel like that would have been a lot slower. So I figured I would just do just enough eggs. I mean, I had a spoon on Edward, I had an X-Gal on Cecil, and one of those ninja swords on Edge. I figured we'd have the damage to just get through the fight with minimal levels. I did want to get Eddie above 1,000 health, and as long as he wasn't counter nuked, I would be fine. So yeah, I didn't think grinding would be too big a deal. Just a few sirens would get me where I needed to be. So ending a little earlier and then just doing Ruby, but leg.
What do you think about this flag set overall? You don't have a lot of money options with the S-Quarter, and there's not a lot of chests to go for. So what was your plan going in?
I didn't realize how little money there would be going in. So I was kind of just like, well, I know Fu and Edge are available. I'll try to prioritize characters a little bit. See if I can get one of them. In hindsight, I feel like I should have looted a lot more, especially since Wild Design, and you can find a lot of good stuff. And if nothing else, you'll get money, which is something I was severely lacking throughout the run. I don't know if you remember seeing me like struggling to buy mute daggers, which is where I ended up selling the Bahamut for. But those never feel good. It's like, what do I sell? I need money. Like, do I sell a Star Veil? It only sells for like $700. Like, no, that's not worth it.
Yeah, that S-Quarter really takes a lot of the punch out of your selling of your like kind of nickel and dimey stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then when you go loot obvious things you just skipped over and you find random X-Gals just lying around, it's like, oh, well, yeah, everyone probably had this for a while. So I think prioritizing looting on this flag set might be the way to go versus whatever it was I was trying to do here.
Well, whatever you did you tried to do ended up working pretty good with a third place overall. Did you have any other final thoughts on this seed tonight?
No, I think that was all my thoughts there.
Well, then, thank you for letting us watch your run tonight, and thank you for joining us for the interview. And once again, GG's.
Thank you. Thanks for commentating, tracking, and restreaming. Have a good one.
You as well. GG again. That was Zilch with our first place on stream, third place overall, 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 35 seconds. And after PK's finish, we have a couple of others. Jiva's finishing in 5th place with 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 50 seconds. Followed by Harumph with 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 1 second. Coffee and Chocobos finishing in 7th place with 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 36 seconds. And Marty56 finishing in 8th place with a time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 53 seconds. GG's to the other 4 runners. Fantastically well run to coming in so far ahead in this very, very rough seed as we've seen it laid out.
Right, and it does look like we've got a couple other of our featured runners in go mode, as we see Pixeltamer going and going to be using that pass. Groundflier, who doesn't have the pass, is going to be making the walk down the lunar subterrane, but that'll get you to zero just as well. It's just a little bit longer. And they're going to be greeted with Creatimus as well. And we have Beer Nerd in 9th place, 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 2 seconds of GG's to Beer Nerd. Commander Leonhart finds that second edge up there on the lunar dais. And Pixeltamer makes it to about 3 screens earlier than Groundflier does. We've got a 10th place finisher, Pseudo Doping, has Pseudo Ping, not Pseudo Dope. Let's get that right. I've had to get extra syllable in there. 10th place, 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 37 seconds. GG's there, and right behind is Poidrak in 11th place at 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 53 seconds. So finishes are coming hot and heavy right. Pixeltamer now into the fight proper. Got the crystal queued up while Groundflier just about to enter the fight.
Seems like everyone started to get that critical mass of power where they could just start walking through the summon bosses and knocking them out on Earth before having to go and check Bahamut. Thankfully, not a lot of people having to go and deal with that pain man that Commander Leonhart's about to go and find. Whereas Pixeltamer has the true form at his screen, and Groundflier just about 20-30 seconds behind him, getting into the fight. It's going to be a very tight race for our second finish on screen.
And I think the big story of this seed is like the real tough boss right at the end. That Rubicant at the Odin spot is place for that Legend Sword to be found. But the other options, that Pain Man, as you just mentioned, is a very difficult fight. We've got the 2 really nasty Feymarch bosses down there too. And those 4 were a big wall. Once you're able to defeat them, I think, as we've seen, lots of people able to getting through those, but it was quite a while before anyone did. Like, we didn't see anybody beat the crowd by like 15 minutes or something at this race because those bosses were just that difficult.
Yeah, there just was not that much power to go around, so everyone's like, okay, they start to hit their power a little bit sooner and get that nice routing. I'm actually curious to find out how many of the runners grabbed that adamant armor, either A, from Giant of Babel. I almost guarantee Pixeltamer is going to be in a very small minority there, or alternatively, having defeated that Valvalis, who is a little bit more easier of a fight than what we have anywhere else. But even then, that is still going to be... That's a very interesting wonder who has it and who doesn't.
Commander Leonhart able to defeat Dark Knight Cecil by utilizing the hide command from Edward. So very smart use of that ability there to get through what is a very difficult...
And there's a Sand Ruby, so that is his other twin. He is going to be rewarded with a Palom. Probably not going to be taking it, but that is definitely... another character he might be welcome to see. Whereas Pixeltamer, eating that first big bang, very heads up, hides on Edward, but the rest of his party goes down.
Meanwhile, Groundflier got a gray face on his Ashura, and that means that second big bang is going to be very dangerous over here. It does have 2 characters still up, but we're in recovery mode here on Groundflire's screen, as we are on Pixeltamer's screen as well. I mean, these are not easy Zeramus fights that we're seeing on the screens right now.
Absolutely, and he also mismenued just slightly where he had Rydia auto attack as soon as she came out. There is another Asura. Do we roll Greyface twice in a row?
We do.
Oh, but that's not the worst. That is still 2 lives that he's getting up on Edward and Edge. So if he can keep them up, that'll be hopefully big money. No whammies, no whammies.
Oof, that's 3 in a row.
Way. Board face, your AI, my dude. That's crazy. That is 3 in a row. That is absolutely insane to have happen. That big bang is going to spell the end of Groundflier's attempt here. That's not even his fault. Whereas Pixeltamer, on the other hand, is doing. I'm going to call this augmented Eddie strats. Where he's coming out just to hit him once or twice and then run away again. This is entertaining on that side. I will say this.
Yeah, this is like just like transitioning into Eddie strats because you've got to. This is the only opportunity we've got right now. But as long as he can time his attacks and hide at the right times, he might be okay. But this single target nuke, however, that might be it.
Just a little bit more
than too much damage. Ooh, so unfortunately, both Pixeltamer and groundflier are taking a wipe here, and I think it's important. This is something that I remind people who watch. Zero Miss is not an insignificant boss. A very difficult boss. Sometimes some of the runners make him look easy. It is not an easy.
Absolutely, like you see people who can do Eddie strats, who can do low-level Z fights, but that's because they're very practiced in those, and they're very confident in their strategies and abilities. Zeromus is not, and has never been a pushover, but he is going and doing the best thing I've seen, getting those apples, and he is throwing them on Edward. He has 2 whistles to sell as well. That could be enough for him to get a little bit more HP, but that is absolutely fantastic for him to give that little bit extra HP, that extra oomph that Eddie might need. I honestly thought Pixeltamer might come down to just to beat another boss, say even Valvalis might get lucky.
I will also add, we do have a 12th place finisher, Micro Korgs, has finished in 12th place, 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 34 seconds, so GG's to Micro Korg.
Indeed, GG's to him. We have a lot of the finishers coming in fast and quick. It is great to see so many people again coming out, and the fact that the seeds are ending relatively close to each other is very nice.
So now we are into take 2 for groundflier, and Pixeltamer, after a little short shopping spree, is taking the augmented serpent road back up to the moon. It looks like CommanderLeonhart is on the right path right now, is going back into Baron Castle. And we know that this check for Rubicante, where he's going, is going to be what he needs to defeat in order to get to.
Absolutely. He's getting the information he needs, is going to be checking the chest, finding some good, the good stuff here.
Baron Castle had some really good treasures for people who looted it up.
Baron overall was just like very great play to be making fairly early. You get the Baron key without really having to do much. The bosses were kind of difficult. Like the Plague was rough for what they had inventory-wise at the time, but the second fight of the Dark Elf, not really scary, a fairly easy fight all said and done. So that edge was really accessible early on, and then getting the Excalibur Vessel is very good.
Groundflier is not having any luck with Rydia. Got another gray face and a high roll on the Big Bang. We'll see. We're in recovery mode right now, but HP just ran out on Cecil.
So this is the one time you want to see gray face, and it's not going to happen. No, he doesn't want to take the chance. He's like, you know what? No. He gave up the summon and said start again.
Well, at that point, even if he got gray face, like I don't think he'll have enough time to get another Ashura summon out before the next Big Bang comes.
Well, that was the thing. He was getting 2 Asuras out between, I think, between the Shake and the Big Bang. He probably could have done it. It would have been very, very rough. Speaking of rough, is a unnerfed Big Bang or a nerf Big Bang over on Pixeltamer's side brings down Kane, but that hidden Edward coming out and going to be taking it hit. Whereas we have Fire 2s coming out on CommanderLeonhart's side, and he is having a rough go of it. But he does get through it. That Kane jump, again, the nice thing about him, doesn't trigger Fire 2 counters and also misses that out. Gets himself the Legend Sword. He is also in go mode, and we're going to see where he's going from here.
Yeah, hopefully he found those sirens for sale if he needs any more grinding. I didn't see quite where his levels are at, or if he's just ready to go once he heads over to Coco's workshop.
I think he might still be a little low. Pixeltamer getting another big bang, rolling decently. Doesn't even get to see the damage, excuse me, and is just not having a fun time with this fight. But guys, shout outs to these runners, to Pixeltamer, CommanderLeonhart, Zilch, and groundflier. Give them a little bit of follow love. They come here to show off, to demonstrate this for you guys. They're doing it for nothing. Show them a little follow, a little love as you do so. Not to mention the guys who are running the show behind the scenes, Demarine2 and Xenocat 823543. They're doing the hard work so that we have myself and Rex. We can just chill back here and have a nice little chat.
Yeah, chilling is what I do best. And with that, CommanderLeonhart has made it to Coco's workshop. He's going to be getting that crystal very shortly here. And checking out, this is a nice shop here. Protect Rings, Ribbles. Got Mysidian Jumping Club in my head. Ribbits. We've got everything there is good, but it's very expensive.
I thought you were going to go for tribbles there. But yeah, that is a very good team. And the fact that Pixeltamer, again, looking at his squad, if I was him, I would still be very tempted to go check where that Hook character is, because again, it's Schrodinger's Fu. Until you know otherwise, that's a Fusoya just sitting there waiting for you. You replace that Kane with a Fusoya, that's your healer right there. And that's the big thing he's missing. He's got all the damage, he's got all the nerf in the world. He's fighting a clock where he has to get through the Zeromus HP before he gets 2 big bangs off. It's very possible, but with everything he has to have nuke roll on his Kane. It has to be a fairly low roll big bang overall. And he's playing a very, very interesting numbers game. He will get the right fight eventually, but I still say checking for a healer is going to be the best, or looking for those Cure 3s.
Yeah, and I believe it was Tomra where the Cure 3s were, but I don't remember offhand. And finally, groundflier gets something other than Greyface and is able to heal up his team.
Wait, hold on. Asura has more than one face?
I guess so. I mean, we wouldn't have known that before now.
No kidding. And that's what I was saying earlier on. Asura means that Rydia is a good healer. She's just not a reliable one, which is unfortunate. Because, again, you have 66, 67%, depending on where you want to have that RNG go, of the time where she can be a fantastic healer, because her heals scale off her wisdom, which is her highest stat. Her willpower, my bad. And she can pull off 2-3k heals, as you're going to see here. So she heals off so high, but it's the fact that if she doesn't roll that, it's not going to matter. She keeps Sid, keeps Cecil perfectly fine, so they can constantly rotate out those lives. But if Rydia keeps trolling like that, this fight goes from absolutely easy to a nightmare.
The other thing is, I don't know if groundflier found those Bacchuses or didn't want to walk down to get them. So, yeah.
Maybe didn't see them. I only see a couple of Sirens in his inventory, so he has the ones there. So he's just going through with that. But yeah, he has these big bangs. He's not nerfing any of them, which I think is a minor mistake in his part. But he's just eating them straight up, and it's killing almost his entire team every time. Like, yeah, Cecil eats it no problem. Edge eats it no problem. Sid took a very high roll on that and ate it. But again, and then we have the full team virus here, which is going to wipe everybody but Cecil. If he can pull it through, he might be lucky. But this is where he's starting to play with fire a little bit.
Yeah, this is the danger of relying on just one Rydia as your healer without like a backup plan. Even if you've got a more dedicated chemist like Sid able to survive, or even Cecil, you don't have a lot of firepower to bring them back either. If you're counting like life potions, cure 3s, elixirs, that sort of thing. I mean, the really super powerful restorative items that come in later iterations of Final Fantasy, like your mega elixirs or your mega phoenixes and things like that, just aren't present in this game, and so that makes like dedicated white mages that much more valuable. And Rydia falls again to another big bang.
Absolutely. And again, it's the secondary parts of the script that we forget about a lot of the time, because when you think about Zeromus, you think, okay, it's shake, big bang, black hole, and then you go back and rotate through that. But there's two other parts of the script that people forget. There's the party that we've seen, one of it. We've seen party-wide virus, and then we see single target nuke, which again happened on Pixeltamer's side. He has his counter nukes, and that's how a lot of people like to kill him. But if you're not getting that done, and you're just eating full power big bangs, the follow-up damage from those nukes and those viruses are honestly nothing to scoff at. As we're going to see on Pixeltamer's side, he eats a nuke 1700 right there. It's not an insubstantial amount of damage.
Yeah, that is definitely something to keep in mind. Looks like Pixeltamer kind of switched up strategies here. Might be aware that Edward might be not in for the long game and switched to, I believe he darted the spoon using Edge.
True, and this is the one time where Edward actually survives with about 200 HP, but this is still a great time for him to be, again, he's got those cure 3s, and Edward could be your makeshift chemist now. Tossing up those cure 2s, getting people healed up. Cecil's going to be like minor damage. That Edge that's only doing like 300 damage is going to be your major chemist at this point, because you're not getting a whole heaping a lot of damage. But he does have now the makings of getting through it. With both Edges over 1900 HP, everyone in his team can survive big bangs, throw up cure 3s on each other, and then that's how he's going to get through it. Those two Edges are not going to survive this, because this is an unnerfed one.
Yeah, that's just Cecil alive, but had the Cure 3 already. Now, what's interesting here is CommanderLeonhart has now entered the final battle, and he could get sneaky here if he's able to sneak in and have a cleaner fight than the bad luck that we've been seeing in some of Pixeltamer and Groundflier's attempts. Like, there's another reset after another unfortunate gray face on Groundflier's screen. CommanderLeonhart, who first entered this Zeromus fight much later than both Pixeltamer and Groundflyer, might be able to sneak in and take second place of our featured runners.
Indeed. And speaking of our featured runners, we have more people beating them to the punch. They are putting on a great show. We have Lord Bob Ree, one of our Gauntlet participants, finishing in 13th place with a time of 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 47 seconds. And then Bacon Pie finishing right behind with a time at 14th place with a time of 1 hour, 57 minutes, and 16 seconds. GG's to those guys as well. But yeah, the majority of the problem with Groundflyer and Pixeltamer is there's been a lot of high rolls, or technically, if you want to look at it in Groundflyer's way, a lot of low rolls, in the sense that you have not luck on your side in that aspect. A lot of these times where coin flips are a very big thing, it's huge coming in.
And I'm not sure of what Pixeltamer's anchoring situation is. He's got Cecil in the middle. He might have 28 agility. I'm not sure what's going on there, but it looks like he's kind of adjusting his strategy to go with a solo Cecil for the rest. Because if he can Big Bang, Cure 3, Big Bang, Cure 3, Big Bang, or a Black Hole attack, he might be able to make it as long as he's got enough to get through it.
Yeah, the free nukes are going to hurt a little bit as well. But we have Groundflyer Leonhart has Quint Zerker strats going on here. He has Sid for a possible healer, but aside from that, this is actually still fairly heads up from him. He's using the crystal to nerf these big bangs. Going to help him a whole lot in having to rip through it. Cecil eating it is probably not the one you want to have, especially with that X-Cal, but overall, letting the rest of your team live, probably great. Kane actually being in the air for this, very, very huge. That's someone he's not going to have to heal.
Yeah, he's got a handful of Cure 3s. He's going to have to find a way to deal damage through this, though. That's the thing about using Chemist as healing. It's going to be... It's a lot more efficient because you've got to take more turns to heal more characters. Like, Chemists are great for spot healing. If you just have, like, a single person who took a big chunk of damage, that Cure 3 is exactly what you need. But for the AoE attacks that Zeramus puts out, it's really tough to get everything up. And the lack of Bacchuses, I think, is going to make this a much more difficult fight for Leonhart. That's not to say that he can't do it. It's just a lot more pressure.
And groundflier going to be shoring up some of his problems with HP in the sense that he bought 10 more Sirens. Going to be doing a little bit more of a grind. Going to get Edward up a fair amount of HP. Even if he gets another couple of 100 HP, that's going to be more than enough. Rydia hitting the 1800 HP mark, going to give him a whole lot of comfort. If he does get her up to the 2K mark, then he's going to be sitting absolutely pretty. But this is going to be a team where we're hitting power overwhelming on their sides.
And I think that's probably the smart plan here for groundflier. I think when in doubt, grind. That's always going to be helpful in this game.
Absolutely. It's a great idea to finally know you can only bang your head against the wall so many times before you just go get the Sirens, do this, or know your ways around it. And it is very, as Gamut's pointing out in chat, and I'm agreeing, it's very heads up to know, hey, this is my limit. I can't do it with this party like this. I can't do it reliably because, again, as we mentioned, Asura is very, very fickle, and board face AI is the meanest thing out there. But it is just at the point where it's like, you know what, if this strategy isn't working, adjust and re-go. As we see, Edward already up to the 1500 mark, Rydia hitting that just shy of that 1800 mark, I believe herself. Just over 1800 now. Yeah, those are the HP marks where when he walks back to Zeromus, it is going to be a one-sided affair.
Pixeltamer has been going pretty strong with this solo Cecil attack. We'll see. He hasn't run out of gas yet, and that's a really good sign.
So this is like an interesting take on the Drain Sword strategies, where the joke about that is you have a Drain Sword and then swap to... how's it go? Is it Drain Sword go into the Avenger? And then just go that way and put down the controller, and Sessa will eventually kill Zeromus no matter what. I've never personally seen them done, but they're a little bit before my time in Free Enterprise.
It's a very long fight. Might be even longer than the Eddie strats, but yeah, the Drain Sword to Avenger is the classic way of doing that. Yes. It can also be Drain Spear to Avenger if you're going with Kane too. What would we see rocks on Pixeltamer's screen?
Rocks that miss Cecil. All he has to do, swing a couple more times, and hopefully not even immediate. Yeah, with that adamant armor on him, dodging out those rocks, just needs a couple more swings. This next hit or two should finish it. And while we were mentioning it, while he's finishing these rocks, we did have a 15 plates finisher of kind of an early housewife, with 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 42 seconds, and another couple of swings. Oh, these meteors are taking so long. There's the flash, and we do have Pixeltamer finally finishing a slog of a fight with 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 26 seconds. GG's in chat. That was a clutch fight.
That was huge. That was an awesome fight by Pixeltamer there. Adjusting on the fly, saying, I think I've got what it takes to just get through it with Cecil. And indeed he did. Dedication, did not give up on that fight, and it was great. And I think now we're joined by Pixel. GG's. That was some Zeramus fight.
Yeah, that was hard. The whole seed was hard. I feel like I missed some early loot that everybody else had, given the times.
So actually, fairly interesting. You didn't miss out on something that Zilch did. He didn't pick up that early Excalibur that the rest of the group did find in Damsian Castle. The difference is he checked the hook character, found himself a Porum, and used her, whereas we have some other people doing different strategies. But you still managed to make a good fight of that seed. That was very well done.
Yeah, the mage would have been lovely. I think I saw Palom at the Sand Ruby, but that was about it.
There was also another secondary way of healing with Rydia and using Asura, because those summons were for sale, as another way of healing, which is what another one of our restream runner groundflier is doing right now. But what are your thoughts on let's go with the early part of the seed? How did you feel it was playing out?
The early game, because the loot was so thin, I was just trying to figure out, okay, what do I have the levels to actually try and do? And I was really happy to get Sid early because he can carry the first few spots. After that, it was, oh, hey, I've got a spoon and a power shirt. Edward can carry me for a while. And then Paladin with Excalibur carried me for a bit, and eventually that started to just run out, and I started looking for free bosses to try and get gear and levels, which is why I ended up going to the Giant, which paid off between getting that adamant armor and then grinding out Asura for the levels.
Yeah, that was something I was going to ask you next. So your whole thought of going to the Giant was, hey, I need some levels or I need a free boss. Let's go there. And finding that adamant armor, one of two in the seed that we know of, Valvalis was actually guarding another one. You got very lucky in that. What was the hope of, what were you hoping to find besides adamant at the last arm chest? Was it just the experience, or were you hoping for that good armor or good item there too?
Good item of some kind from last arm, and then I was hoping that Elements was going to be an easy boss, which it turned out to be. I almost went back to the moon to try Dark Knight at Bahamut, thinking that if I had the adamant on Edward, he might be fast enough to get the hide off, and I'm guessing that was a dead end because, well, it didn't get me anywhere.
That was in fact a Sand Ruby, which would have led you to a Palom. But yeah, that's we did have one person go through it. Leonhart actually made it through. He had his Edward get enough agility to hide. So
cool. Yeah, this was a really hard seed.
Yeah, the bosses that were presented at the end, those two nasty Feymarch bosses, the Rubicant down at the Odin spot and the Pain Man in the Bahamut were all really roadblock bosses.
Yeah. At least once I got the Adam, I knew Rubicant was free because Glare pays attention to fire resistance.
Yeah, but finding that adamant was also tough. We didn't see any early in this seed, and it took you to go out your way to get it over at the last arm. And once that happened, you were able to pay off and do anything, and that also enabled you to. That really helped during that Zeramis fight with all those dodges on the Medio as well.
Oh yeah, not a single rock fell, despite his best efforts.
Yeah, I was saying that. I was like, oh, as long as he keeps dodging these, and just all it was that delaying the inevitable, adding extra turns.
Yeah. Never tried Edward strats before. Thought I'm gonna have to try it now, and I just couldn't get it to work. So then I realized, oh hey, Cecil's got a lot of hit points. I could just tank Big Bang, and I know where Cure 3s are.
Yeah, that's I gotta say that's pretty heads up. Just remembering what you've got access to, going and adjusting, making the purchase of that. That's smart. Like realizing what you've got, and then just sticking through it the whole way. And it was tense, but as long as you didn't run out of Cure 3s, you were in good shape.
Yeah, I figured 20 was going to be enough, but I wasn't 100% convinced.
So, what are your? Do you have any final thoughts on this seed and or the flag set overall?
I wish the sparse number was higher, but that's where most of the difficulty came from, so I shouldn't complain about it too much. I think I learned some things during this seed, and that's the important thing. I think I got a little better as a player.
And that's the main thing. Now, the real question as well is, are you going to be doing the salty run back on Friday? Are you going to give this seed another chance? And if Demarine rolls it again, show her what's for?
We'll see. I'm feeling a little salty right now. We'll see how much the salt subsides.
All right. Well, GG's on your finish, and for that awesome Zeramis fight. It was really fun to watch. And thank you for letting us watch your entire race, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for restreaming and doing all the wonderful community things.
Thank you again. And again, that was Pixeltamer finishing 16th place with a time of 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 26 seconds. GG's to him on a fantastically run race and still showing us different ways of going about the Zeromus fight. It's not all about Quint Zerkers. It's not all about Reflect. Sometimes you got to make do with what you got, and it might not be the most efficient way, but if it gets it done, that's all that matters in the end. And
we see a solo Cecil, basically a solo Cecil Zeromus fight, and that was really cool to see too.
Well, absolutely. We always joke around. It's like, oh, it's the Cecil show, or the Rosa and Cecil show when doing something like that. But seeing literally the solo Cecil like healing and damaging, that's the whole joys of a paladin, all that lovely HP. But as we were interviewing Pixeltamer, we had another 2 finishers actually. Bad Karma finishing with 17th place at 2 hours, 6 minutes, 53 seconds, and Tybalt finishing at 2 hours, 10 minutes even. So GG's to our 17th and 18th place finishers.
And once again, a reminder of everybody, if you haven't heard it yet, to stick around after the race is done tonight for a special announcement. Ooh, very mysterious special announcement.
Absolutely. And speaking of great things happening, though, we do see that groundflier and Leonhart are still having a good run of it. Commander Leonhart only has Cecil up and looks like he is still going strong, opting for going for the Cure 3 on his Cecil to keep him alive. Whereas we have Groundflier relying on that Rydia again. Are we going to see a Gray Face? Are we going to see heals this time? Is his luck going to just be that good? So Red Face this time. This is a good heal.
That's good. That might be the heal that he needs to get through this, because with those extra levels, all of his characters are a lot more likely to survive these unnerfed big bangs. 1840 on Edward is still there's still a chance, but it could go either way.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that 1900 a little much, but I think reviving the other characters is more important here, and going for the Ashura, you might try to, Sid throwing up the life potion.
Gonna get the heal afterwards on Edward, but Eddie can just hide out through another big bang if necessary. But definitely keeping everybody topped up. That 3k HP, 4k on Cecil, more than enough to eat through pretty much anything. You're gonna take the attack for Edward, because it does need to get that damage out. Is still doing pretty good. There's another shake, so we're gonna have a big bang coming in very, very shortly.
Looks like Commander Leonhart heading over to the sealed cave. Might not. I don't know if he
did actually. He's doing this for experience. I'm pretty sure we have a door grind happening, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, what I was saying is I don't know if he never found those sirens for sale, or if he's just out of money. But going to this is one of those options that you've got if you need to get a lot of experience. This is a grind option that's available for you when you don't have access to those sirens.
So the best part about that too is not only did the door attack, but it targeted Cecil with it, so it has that ribbon on as well and ignores the death effect.
Yeah, that's always a relief. Having to revive somebody through the doors thing is an annoying thing, but it's always nice when it misses for whatever reason. I mean, sometimes if you've got a super fast Rosa, you can get the wall up before it comes and you can reflect it, but we don't have Rosa here.
No Rosa, and again, we do know that there is a Porum hanging out somewhere in the seed behind that hook that Leonhart has not checked, but we do have it going. And speaking of going, Groundflier has it going on with these rolls. Another Red Face gets that big 5k heal on people, or 4.5k heal, and is going to be ripping through this Zeromus in short order.
That's only fair. I mean, Groundflier had such bad luck earlier. It's good to see some red faces instead of gray faces.
Good to see red faces on the screen as opposed to the red face he has with how these rolls have been going. Oh, even actually taking time to get off a reflected nuke with Rydia. That's very nice that he's getting that much off. Another nice thing about Asura healing versus actual White Mage healing is that he is able to get that through the reflect, whereas a Cure 4 would be bounced back onto Zeromus. So he's still able to keep that Sid fully healthy while getting off a little bit of extra damage in between.
That's a good point, and not one that's often thought of as far as benefits of Asura healing. It's very strong. It's AoE, but it's just not as reliable. But we do see rocks falling, and that is a very good sight indeed on Groundflier's screen.
Absolutely. The light at the end of the tunnel is there. Asura has finally carried him through. The rocks are falling, the Edward is slashing, and we're going to see who gets that final hit. Is the Excalibur? Do we have a flash? Not quite yet. Oh, there it is. There's the flash. There's the shake. We have a final time from Groundflier of 20th place of 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 2 seconds, and finishing a few minutes ahead of him was Bahamut X at 19th place at 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 44 seconds. And we're going to see if we can't get Groundflier in for an interview as well.
Yeah, big GGs. That was just, seeing all those gray faces was so disheartening, but stuck to it, decided to go and get a grind. You do what you've got available to you, and that was always available, and able to get his revenge on Zeromus there. So big GGs there to Groundflier.
Absolutely. Get your GGs out in chat for him. He's done a fantastic run, very much the grind through that. It required him going and getting some extra levels, is what Leonhart's doing as well. Getting a lot of HP on his characters now. Edward rocking just above 1,000 HP, but again, you can only go for so long before you gotta adjust, and he adjusted and he made it through. Perseverance sometimes will get you through the worst of seeds.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it really comes down to seeing what option. If you're come across, well, Zeromus is always there, but generally any tough boss, you sometimes, like I suffer from tunnel vision sometimes when going through bosses. If I think I can do it, I'll just keep going it over and over and over again. But when it all comes down to it, oftentimes you got to step back and try something else. And if that something else is taking a few minutes to do some more grinding, like that's better than losing 5 more times against Zeromus, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we do have Groundflier joined in with us now. GG's Groundflier on your finish.
We're not hearing you, Groundflier. I don't know if you're accidentally on mute.
But yeah, as we are going to have Groundflier figure out his mic problem, I hope he doesn't have one. We do have, again, Leonhart going through these doors, getting up to about the high 50 or the early 50s in his levels. Still a lot of HP. Probably needs about 5 or so more levels on Eddie before he can survive the hits from Big Bang. And again, while Groundflier gets things set up, again, give a little bit of love to these guys. They put on a great show, shown some different strategies in the way things have been going, to not only our runners, but also again to the restream of Demering Xenocat for restreaming tracking, and they've been doing a fantastic job behind us. Yeah, and Jeev is pointing out in chat, you can take the money that you get from doing these doors. You're going to be getting a fair amount of it, so you can check to see what's... you can get another siren just to speed up the grind and not have to worry about the reses. But I do see you light up. Groundflier again, welcome back. GG's on your finish, my friend.
Thanks a bunch. That was... the end was a little tough. I'm not great with Rydia strats, so I got a little tilted at the end. I'm like, okay, absolute power time.
Well, that wasn't your fault with the Rydia strats. That was RNG eating you, what, 4 gray faces in a row?
First one was 3, and then the next, I think 2 more after that. I was just like, I don't even know what to do.
Yeah, that was one of the just like a brutal string of bad luck more than anything. But yeah, the power overwhelming strategy, like when you're flying in the face of bad luck like that, you just need that extra power. That was what it took. So yeah, like do what you have to do. No shame there.
Yeah, no, I feel okay about it now after the fact. Like I do need to practice Rydia stuff. I need to work on nerfing big bangs and stuff. I'm not quite there with that yet.
You still
Yeah,
did a fantastic job, though. So you should be proud with what you did with the stuff that you're still unfamiliar with. Rydia still carried you once she finally got those heals going off, and you having the HP to survive all those big bangs.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I have to ask: did everyone else get the X-Cal at the beginning?
Zilch did not, actually.
Because I was like, okay, got to search, and then I see it's in the pot. Like, you don't even notice if it's on or off, and I'm like, holy crap, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, that was something that you and two of our other featured runners saw it, and after that happened, I was like, I thought that people would go to Mount Ordeals even earlier than they ended up doing. So yeah, it was a big thing, and just made that between that and then the spoon on Edward, everybody had really strong offensive options.
Yeah, it took me a second. I was like, Eddie's going to be my, agility anchor. And then I was like, wait a second. What's with these flags? Brain. And I go to equip. Right. Okay. Change everything.
Well, this was a pretty difficult seed overall. The last kind of line of bosses were really tough. What was your thought when your choices are like the Dark Knight Cecil on the moon? You've got the Rubicon, which ended up being important, and then the two nasty bosses in the Fey March.
Oh, yeah. So Fey March, like, at first I looked at Golbez. I'm like, maybe that's doable. And, I mean, I just didn't have the power then. I was, like, super low levels, so I bounced off it. I never went to the moon and did any moon bosses, so I never saw Pain Man. Rubicante, by the time I got there, like, I had already bounced a couple of sirens, and I felt decently powerful, so I just wanted to do all the chest checks on the way, and I'm like, I'll just fight him. And yeah, I mostly made it okay through there. I had to do a Bahamut or two, I think, but it went okay. So then once I saw that, I'm like, oh, awesome. And then I got the other half of go mode, and I was like, okay, I'm rolling. And it took me like another 30 to 45 minutes just to finish everything, just because I needed to power up. But it was exciting just getting through all that. I felt like I made some really good decisions early on. I liked the tower check, going through that and doing all the alerts and getting some chests and stuff out of that too. So that felt pretty comfortable.
I forget. Did you ever actually go through Val Valis, one of the Fey March bosses, or did you just completely fade them after a while?
Oh no, yeah, I just faded the heck out of them because then I was like, okay, I'll do Baron, and then by then it was go mode, and I didn't need to go back.
So a little tip that some people found when they went through it: Val Valis, there's 2 adamant armors in the seed, minus the pink tail, not even including the pink tail one. Val Valis was actually holding one of them. So that was a nice reward for finally being able to get through her. But you still managed to tough it out without one. You did a fantastic run of it. What was your thoughts before getting the Rydia? What were your thinking about healing or thinking about your team comp before you gave her the summons for her to carry you through the middle end of the seed?
Sorry, say that again.
What were your thoughts about your team composition before you found that Rydia? And even after finding her, what were you thinking along those lines about how your team was shaping up?
I mean, obviously beforehand I was like, crap, I'm getting powerful, but I have nothing to heal with. And then I was like, Rydia, well, I'm like, okay, I have an Ashura and a Bahamut, so like I'll make it work. But yeah, like once I saw that, at least I knew it was doable. I was just like, where in the world is there a healer? Like, because I think Bed was Palom, right? I don't think there was another healer that I had seen the whole seed.
That you saw, no. Behind the Hook was in fact a Porum. So she was hanging there, and Hook was at the top of the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. That's all right.
Yeah, a lot of people got what they needed from the lower part and said, you know what, we're done here. I think Pixeltamer was Pixeltamer and Zilch were the only two who powered through the top. Oh, and Leonhart as well. It was Mom Bomb up there. It was not fun. Overall, though, you did a very fantastic job. When you saw that edge hiding in Baron, what was your thought there? And even on the moon.
Oh, I was really excited for the second one. I was like, oh, sorry, moving my mic here. The first one I was excited because I was like, okay, I didn't sell one of the 2 Masamunes that I found. I found 2 of them and I sold one. By the time I saw the second one, I was like, I'll take the gear because the black belt and the bandana were nice for equipping, but I didn't feel like hitting stuff with 2 short swords didn't seem all that useful at that point because I already had superpowered Cecil and superpowered Eddie, so things felt okay at that point. I never did find anything for Kane. I got there were multiple Kanes, and I never saw, like, I guess there was a Gungnir for sale somewhere, but I never ended up using him for anything.
Yeah, that was about the only decent Kane weapon that I think I saw throughout all of the runners. So Kane was kind of a red herring in this one compared to the other runners. Did you have any final thoughts about this particular seed or this flag set in general?
So the flag set, I think, is pretty cool. I think there's a lot of variance with it, like in terms of if you get good gear early on, or if you get stuff that's good for selling early on, or whatever. I think it makes for a really interesting seed because you just absolutely have no idea what you're going to get. Like, I happened to get an X-Cal super early, and that changed the whole game. But if I don't get that, then everything's way slower. So I like the notion that, like, there's so much difference that can happen between seeds and stuff. It adds a lot of really interesting flavor to it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I definitely got a little tilted at the end. Oh, I won't lie, but
understandably.
But by the time I got through, I like to push through. I don't want to forfeit if I don't have to, but I understand when people do. But I felt good finishing it off. I felt good doing all of this, and this was my first restream, so this has been awesome. Thanks to everybody on the restream team, and you all do a great job every time. I've been watching you guys for years, and it's so awesome to actually be now racing with everyone else, and I'm really enjoying it, and I want to keep it up, and it's fantastic. I'm loving it. So I will be back next time for sure.
All right. Well, GG's again. Thanks for joining us, groundflier, for the interview, and thanks for letting us watch your race tonight. And wish you the best of luck.
Thanks. Take care, everyone.
Again, that was groundflier, 3rd place finisher on the stream, 20th place overall, 2 hours, 15 minutes, 2 seconds. GG's out for him. Fantastic run. Excited to see him in some more of these runs. And as we've been going through that, we have another run of CommanderLeonhart in on the Zeromus fight. He has Cecil up at full health, and he's managing to slug through this. We'll eventually plow through from what I can see. I saw he got a couple more Cure 3 pots on his side and is eventually going to be going through, still knocking out with a fair amount of levels. There's another shake on Zeromus, but yeah, we have 16 Cure 3s. If he keeps those up and keeps getting the damage from the characters he has, and even in fact nerfing this Big Bang coming out, that's he's doing a great job and is going to be getting through this fight. It's just going to be the same things we saw on Pixeltamer side, just a run through. And Eddie eating the crystal hit even is a little unfortunate, but still going to be getting through this.
Unfortunately, not getting the jump off on Kane this time. So I think Cecil's going to be the only one to survive this Big Bang, but survives with plenty of HP, might be able to even tank another one. And we'll see if we go back into... No, he's deciding to revive the characters, which makes sense too. I mean, we did see Pixeltamer go with the lone Cecil strategy, but I'm not sure if that's going to be the way that CommanderLeonhart decides to go through this one.
Apparently not. And also, as a note, that was his very last Cure 3. Sorry, very last life potion. He still has 16 Cure 3s left. My bad. I misspoke. That is his last life potion. So this is the last one that he has to get him through this fight.
Now, we did see the single target nuke, which means we've gone past the HP refill. We're in this phase 2, so we're getting closer to the end, much closer than we were at the start. Going to be working on nerfing another Big Bang here.
The nerf into the nuke the nerf into the nerf. Nerfed Big Bang. That is a very hard sentence to say. As we see, he's still sitting at 1500 HP. It's a little risky, but he's also going to be bringing his Eddie back out. Going to be taking the. Oh, he didn't get that nerf in time. He is going to have to either eat a reset or hope this hit. This hit puts it into it, but it is a very tough. He's in a very, very tight spot right now.
Yeah, it looks like Leonhart's in YOLO strategy now.
Nope, there's the Big Bang. That's going to be another reset. That is a rough go. That was a fairly high roll and missing out. Not only was it the fact that he missed the nerf, but that was a high roll. Again, we say Zeromus, oh, he's not that bad of a fight. This shows where he can be very, very, very rude. There's some other rudeness that we've seen him do where he's done Big Bangs straight into Meteos. Those are never fun times when you watch your HP bar just dwindle by about 1800 when you're only expecting to take maybe 800 damage.
Well, yeah, and another thing to note is this has been a difficult seed on a couple of different levels. We talked about the bosses quite extensively, like that there were some very difficult bosses near the end of this seed, but it's also worth noting that I think that a lot of runners might not be as practiced with strategies when you don't have a white mage that's very readily available. And so you're trying to do things on the fly and make adjustments, and our runners are tackling it as best as they can. And we've seen a number of different attempts to try to get through that.
Absolutely. I know one of my first thoughts whenever I start a seed is like, okay, where's going to be my healer? Where's going to be this? Like you have your inventory list of what you're going to want to look for. And when you don't tick all those boxes and you're so comfortable with seeing a lot of them, I think, for example, what we just finished wrapping up the Fubul Gauntlet, the Swiss rounds versus the bracket flags showed up a lot of difference in that. Whereas there were some times where it was very, very rare, but you wouldn't have a healer right off the hop, or you'd be stuck with, say, Tella as your healer and you wouldn't find him until later. Tella is still serviceable, but you haven't really had to fight and get points where, like what groundflier was showing us off, where who's your healer? It was Rydia. She's still not reliable, but she's still a healer. And it's people aren't really used to that in a lot of the community races because it's like almost all the characters are there. You'll see a white mage here or there, but this is still just fantastic. And like they're still showing off that, yeah, I'm not given the best out of the bunch, but given a very sparse in general seed, they're still making a great go of it and being very well skilled as we're showing.
Indeed. So here we go. We've got the next fight against Zeromus here for Commander Leonhart.
He even throws a reflector Star Veils up on both Eddie and Edge, just in case one of them got hit, and he rolls very, very poorly and instead gets it on his Sid. 2 out of 5. We might as well be looking at the groundflier Rydia first round, but gets that nerf on the Big Bang. A fairly high roll on that edge, as a matter of fact, hitting over 1,000. But Eddie still up, and that's the important thing. You need that spoonworm to be punching out the damage that you have him here for.
I mean, that's one option. It might. I think we saw this. I don't remember if it was which one of our other runners. We saw one of them kind of switch up their strategy so they weren't relying on attacking with Edward, but instead got unequipped him with the spoon and used Edge to dart that spoon to do a lot of damage in one chunk, and that might not be a bad thing to try here as well.
Absolutely, and he does get that crystal off. Might be a little bit late on this nerf, but not only that is he hits it hard into the cane. It does get the nerf, but there goes our poor Spoony Bard with the spoon, and we do have 3 people up, which is the important part here.
Yeah, without a doubt, and that second nerf was pretty big here.
Yeah, absolutely. Without it, he would have only been left with, I say only, but still it's a great team to have, only been left with Sid and Cecil. And at that point, that might be the only team you need, because it's, instead of the Rosa Cecil show, you have the Sid Cecil show. Cecil doing all the damage, and Cecil, again, being a chemist. And as you were mentioning, yeah, if you have 5 people to heal up, chemists aren't very useful. But if that chemist is only healing up 2 people, both of them having over 3k HP, they can eat full power big bangs, and cure 3 pots are going to do more than the healing necessary.
Got another successful nerf of the Big Bang. Now, nerfing a Big Bang throughout an entire fight is very difficult. It requires a lot of patience and timing. And the fact that he's gotten them consistently so far has been very good here in this fight for Leonhart. There's the target all virus. That's going to give a little bit of time to get another cure 3 off if needed as well. It's not quite as safe as the black hole, which follows it, but it's nice too.
Absolutely, and it gives him time to get more cure 3s up, have him heal up his Sid, even his Edge. He's going to want to probably toss maybe even at least a cure 2 onto, just so he can guaranteed survive this next Big Bang. Because here is the shake, and it is going to be a hard-hitting hit. Going for the crystal, he's going to try and nerf this out as well. If he gets it, if the hit is on Sid or Cecil, he's fine. So he's hoping for a good hit here. And that's actually some pretty decent RNG in my opinion.
So long as this nerf was successful, as long as the timing was good, I think that I agree with you. That was good. A good RNG.
This is the other 2/3 RNG we're looking for. The first one was the Asura face. This is now characters hit by. Gonna have to be relying on those cure 2 pots, but he's still doing some decent damage with Cecil, topping at about 33 to 3,500 a hit. If he's got anything that remains in throwing things, this would be where you just throw the farm. Unfortunately, you'd probably want to maybe get up that Edward at one point between these nerfs, raise him up, get that spoon off of him, because that's quad 9 damage you could be doing right here that's sitting on the ground.
But it seems like he's in a bit of a rhythm right now, so he might not want to disrupt that by reviving Edward just to unequip him at this point too.
And yet another fantastic nerf. Cecil taking next to no damage, getting those heals up, saving the cure 3. This is also a really heads-up play. If you kind of noticed, he's using the cure 3s solely on Cecil, and then having the cure 2s being thrown on Sid and Edge. So he's dividing up the damage and the healing as much as he can with the limited resources he still has. He's about to run out of cure 2 pots, unfortunately, but he has more than enough to have him keep going. And he's seeing his HP values and he knows, okay, I can eat this. And he's just attacking. Even that little bit with Sid could be enough to push him into the next phase, where it's instead single target nuke versus AoE virus.
We see another shake, another crystal being targeted, but no, the Big Bang comes out too early. Ooh, this is going to be rough. Everybody survives. We'll see if we can get that cure 3 on before the HP runs out. Oh,
so
but they.
I kind of agree that this was the better scenario here. As nice as it would have been to get that heal 3 up and cure 3 up and get Edge back on his feet.
It actually targeted Cecil with it. He was ready to forego Edge, so I think that was smart.
Exactly.
To your point there, Dathus.
So I know my thinking, if I was in Leonhart, shoot, oh, that's a single target nuke on Sid. This is now where he's getting a little rough here. But my thought process would be, okay, Edge has got to go down because the big show is my damage is Cecil, my HP, my chemist is Sid. Those two need to live. If those two are fine, I'm okay. Heal up Cecil, and then he lost the 50-50 there. But aside from that, it's who is the most expendable right now, and it is in fact Edge, because he's the one who has the lowest % chance of surviving off of these big bangs that are unnerfed. Cecil, 100% life rate. Sid, 100% life rate at above because he can get above 2,500. So that was really good play for him to be like, you know what? Nope, he's got to go down. Still has some elixirs too, and is throwing that out. every little bit that he can get to keep Cecil alive, heals him up. Unfortunately, Edge is going to be face down, but Cecil might still go through this.
Now, I think we might be seeing Commander Leonhart going into the same strategy that Pixeltamer did for the rest of this fight. Just go with attack when you can with Cecil and heal when you have to.
There's a nuke, only hits him for about 700. Not a bad hit. That Q3 is pretty fantastic to heal him up. Looks like he's going to be going for a life on the edge. Interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you're going to go for that, you need to do that when it's about to be a black hole and not a big bang coming up.
Absolutely. So the place he'd be doing it might be now. Even throwing it on, say, the Edward might even be a better idea, because you can then hide Eddie, have him up, hide him, and then bring him out between big bangs, and then work his way through that. But he's still getting those heals out, and he's still trucking along. That Cure 3 going to put him up way over the HP and getting good rounds in.
Yeah, he should be able to tank the nuke and one big bang and then heal up again. If he could get a couple attacks in, hopefully we can trigger into the rocks falling. That's what we want to see right now. He got at least 3 attacks. That was a pause, I think. Oh, no, there's still a shake there. We're still in phase 2.
Yeah, there's another big bang. He could probably smack into or do another hit and then do a cure because he still has the shake to go through. And yeah, eating that 1400, no problem. Gets another hit. Could probably not going to be greedy. I'm like, he might be able to sneak in another hit. One way or the other, he's probably going to get another one. That's a low roll on that cure 3, though, only 1300.
And that was his last cure 3.
Yeah, so what he's got is what he's got. And I think this might even be... I don't believe I saw him pick up the an adamant armor anywhere. So he doesn't have the adamant to help him dodge those nukes. This is going to be very, very close when it comes to the final phase. Speaking of, there are the rocks. He does, in fact, dodge. There's a dodge. Dodge the second. Oh, baby, a triple. Do we have the clutch? Can he up the 4th hits? Are we going to get a low roll? 700 damage.
Come on.
There's the flash. There's the fade. Get your GGs out in chat. Commander Leonhart with his finish, his official time after the little bit of a heartache that he had. 2 hours, 42 minutes, 36 seconds. We're going to see if we can get him in for an interview. Get your GGs out in chat for this guy.
182 hit points total left. That is, oof, right there, but we got it. Man, oh man, that was well fought.
That was one heck of a nail biter. That was a fantastic run. We're going to give him a couple seconds to see if he wants to do an interview after getting himself back together. Yeah, 181 HP, more than necessary. Gambit's got the right of it. That was right down to the wire.
And yeah, we're going to see if we can get Leonhart in. But also a reminder, stick around because we still do have that mysterious special announcement coming. So stick around, please.
Yeah, he says he just needs a few minutes. Again, absolutely understand that he needs that time for a breather because that was a stressful fight that he honestly did very, very well on, and he should be very proud. It was a great fight. And again, as we have our screen up on here, let's give another big shout out to the runners we had: Pixeltamer, groundflier, zilch6, CommanderLeonhart, giving their time out here to give you a fantastic run. Sometimes you get runs like this where you see very, very clutch Zeromus fights. Sometimes you get like very clean, very by the books, great showing of skill. They're all fun. They're all entertaining. And again, the background we had behind us with, again, Demarine 2 rolling up the restream and rolling this up. Fantastic seed. And we have Xenocat 823543 with the tracking. Keeping track of 4 people with T-Sparse like this, not easy, but they did a fantastic job. Give them your love. Give them shout-outs to them. And again, to my co-commentator here, RexxRaul, fantastically keeping you guys happy and entertained while I'm just spouting nonsense.
Yeah, I'll take it. And yeah, just waiting for Commander Leonhart here. Oh, and I think we've got him.
Yeah, he's just doing a little audio testing before coming in. There he is. GG's Leonhart again once more on that.
You can hear me, but I can barely hear you over my game. So let me see if I can get that fixed.
Oh, sorry about that.
Fine, though.
All right, let's try that again.
All right, can you hear us now? Fine, Leonhart. I'm going to guess that's a not quite yet.
I can hear you. Yes.
Perfect. Again, GG's very well raised on that very clutch run. So give us a little bit of insight. Let's start at the end here. How were you feeling during that Zeromus fight? How were your nerves, and how's everything as you're going through the last bits of that fight?
The last one, the one that finally worked.
Yes.
It was stressing. I mean, if that one hadn't worked, then on the next one, all of the heals were going to Cecil. But I just got to a point towards the end, you kind of saw it, where I just started laying in with the sword and said, well, I better be there now because I'm about out of potions. And I saw the first Meteos miss, and it reminded me yet again that he's wearing a ribbon, and I'm like, thank you, ribbon. And then the next one missed, and then the next one missed. And there was that moment you saw at the end where I went into the inventory like, tell me I have one more Cure 3. No, I don't have any more Cure 3s. Here we go.
No Cure 3s, no second elixir, nothing. But as Gambit actually pointed out in chat, you had 181 HP more than you needed, my friend. But yeah, very well done. You actually also showed off another grind that not a lot of people see. You showed off the door grind that happens in Luca Cave, because a lot of people kind of just run through and as you do. But you showed us off that it is still a place to go. You get a lot of experience from those doors. In fact, more from the egg. It's a little bit more effort, but you did a fantastic run getting through that. Give us a little bit of insight on, say, like the early part of the seed, when you get that Cecil start and there's an Excalibur waiting for you in Damsian Underground.
Got the Cecil, got the Excal, and felt like I finally had some firepower. Because it had been lacking throughout a lot of the seed, and I finally felt like I could take on a lot of the spots that I'd had to fade early and go after them and find the things I was missing.
So yeah, seeing that the power couple of the of what we have as the unsafe flags of both Valvalis and Golbez sitting in the Fey March. What was your thought when you saw them and walked right up to them?
I had a very quick thought of nope. And was very, very hopeful that I would not have to go back. I just kind of put it on my list as, okay, our last location, this. And if it's there, then that's life.
Yeah, it was a very great, a very mean underground, but it was also fairly rewarding. You had the Earth Crystal from Golbez, and there was actually an adamant armor sitting on that Valvalis. One of the two that were not part of the Pink Tails. There's one that Pixeltamer showed us in the giant chest, the last arm chest, had one there as well. So yeah, as you're going through, I know you did Dwarf Castle. What was your reasoning for not keeping the Rydia and going for Rydia healing over the team that you finally went with?
Well, because if I saw an Asura in a shop, I didn't know where it was. When I saw Rydia, I was like, well, I just sold my Bahamut. That's life. And if there was an Asura out there, I didn't remember where it was. That would have changed a lot if I had remembered its location.
Was for sale. I want to say it was in either Feymarch or maybe even Tomra. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was a Asura out there for sale. So as an overall, give us your thoughts on the as you're pathing through the seed and as you're getting some of the characters in there.
All right, as best I can remember, early on, I saw the Cecil and Edward, and I knew that I was going to be desperate for equipment, and I knew that in this seed, even with a good group, you're desperate for equipment. So I devoted a lot of time early trying to find something in a shop for them or just something lying in a chest. That threw off my initial routing. That's why I missed Antlion. Went around, did a bunch of other things, finally remembered Antlion somewhere in the middle of my D-Mist fight. And when I went in there and saw the power shirt, I knew I was already behind. That everyone else, following a normal routing, grabs that power shirt and has a much easier time with the checks that I just slogged through. But got that, went on my way. Felt a little better about seeing the magma there at first, because my thought then was I had already done Fabul, I'd gotten the required Luca key, and possibly some of the people that found the magma would go straight underground and leave Fabul for later. But then when I turned in the pan, I realized Fabul wasn't going to wait around for long. And at this point, I'm still hurting for power, if I recall. I'm just taking any cheap checks I can find. I'm doing Sheila 1. I'm doing a Penguinator special on the tower. And that kept up until I got Edge. And at this point, I don't even remember where I got that Edge. But that's when things started to open up a little, and I felt like I could handle some things.
There were, in fact, 2 edges in the seed. One was on the moon, and one was in Baron Castle. I think you did Baron Castle, so you've got the one from there.
Yeah, I did Baron Castle, and when I saw the one on the moon, I was like, well, I have exactly one ninja sword, and I don't know what I'd do with this other edge, because I had already sirened up and powered up by then and was kind of committed. The spoon in Baron also felt good. It's like, hey, another source of...
And also that legend sword being at Rubicon, which is also in Baron. But I want to thank you for joining us. And did you have any brief final thoughts about this seed, Commander Leonhart?
Final thoughts about the seed? Just that it's a rough flag set with a lot of variants. I've run this sometimes and it's gone a lot smoother. I've run it times when it's gone even worse than what just happened here. And of course, thank you all for sticking around and watching me slog through it. Emerine, Rex, Dathus, Xenocat, Geek Dave, thanks for taking care of everything as far as making this happen tonight.
Well, once again, thank you for joining us, and thank you for letting us watch your race tonight. GG's again.
Thank you, Rex.
All right, that was Commander Leonhart. Make sure you give him a follow after that. I mean, he did a very noble thing of not giving up there, and that's to be commended. But with that said, I think it's time for us to get to our special announcement, which I've been teasing many times throughout the run tonight.
Is it time?
It's time.
In fact, Dave, it is. So Leonhart kind of spoiled it, saying that you were here, but we have a Casual Geek Dave who is here with us, and he's going to be giving us a fantastic announcement.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to announce to everybody here tonight that we are bringing back the Lunarian News Network. So to some of you that may be newer to the community or haven't seen it before, in the past, the Lunarian News Network has kind of been our own little fun tongue-in-cheek news network that we've used to cover various events and races and show off some of the fun personalities here in the free enterprise community. We're now taking that format and we're bringing it live starting this Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern with a community spotlight series that we're going to start doing. We're going to be spotlighting some of the various and amazing personalities that we have in the free enterprise community, and we're starting with our Fabul Gauntlet champion and Venerable. So I hope all of you amazing people will join us on Wednesday as Muppets in Space, another awesome member of our community, is going to sit down and interview my friend and yours and Venerable so we can get to know him a little bit better. So I really appreciate everyone's support. That's going to be the lead-in at 7:30, and then later on we'll have the Mysidia Jumping Club. So I hope you'll join us on Wednesday. We have a fun, packed night for everyone.
Yeah, big things afoot here in the free enterprise community. So everybody, make sure you come back on Wednesday. And Casual Geek Dave, thank you so much for joining us and letting us know this awesome news.
Thank you, Rex. Always a pleasure.
All right. And so, yeah, we've got some great news with that coming up. Really fun race to watch. I want to thank our Restream team tonight. Xenocat on the tracking, Demarine on the Restream, and my partner tonight, Dathus. And I'm RexxRaul, and I want to thank everybody for watching tonight.